241. Tai Yong and the 2nd Legion. Are they both loyal? Over 400,000 Space Marines from 3 legions had been lost. Fewer than 10,000 remained. Vulcan and Ferrus Manus both looked grim, even a little broken. Their 3 legions had committed everything to this battle. Only a few thousand Marines had been left on their home worlds. Now their forces had been devastated beyond precedent, their total strength reduced below 10,000. Damn it, this is my fault. I was too careless. Ferrus Manus dropped to his knees and roared in frustration. Don't blame yourself so harshly. Horus planned this war for a long time. This was a trap, and we were lucky to survive it, Vulcan said, patting Ferris's shoulder. At least the 2 of them were conscious. Korax, the Raven Lord, still lay unconscious. If Axis hadn't shown up, annihilated the Orc fleet with absolute power, and used his strength to contain the supernova long enough for them to escape the warp, they would have all died, victims of Horus's conspiracy. Don't be discouraged. The spark survives. With enough recruits, our legion can recover in 10 years, Korax said when he came to. Space Marines had been around for over 2 centuries. The augmentation surgery was near perfection, and their legions still possessed many gene seeds. Those gene seeds could restore them. Axis said nothing. In his private view, the legions wouldn't get back to their old strength. After the Great Heresy, the legions would be split into chapters. While some chapters might number 1,000, the original founding legions should, he felt, remain larger, 5,000 at least, preferably over 10,000. The Codex Astartes would be followed for 10,000 years, but it was nonsense to reduce founding legions to only 1,000. Several future chapters, Black Templars, Space Wolves, Huron Blackheart's followers, would flout the Codex and keep thousands. Axis made a mental note to argue for larger founding legions when the time came. We must pull ourselves together. Though we survived, Horus might strike while we're weak. His goal was to kill us all, Korax warned. He wouldn't dare show his face if I were at full strength. If he tried, he'd regret it, Axis said, smiling. He was tired but not beaten. A few minutes had rest, and he'd recovered several tenths of his power. As a Scion, his physique allowed rapid recovery even in the middle of battle. In less than 10 minutes, he could be at full strength again. If Horus appeared, Axis would make him pay. We only have 1 frigate left, Vulcan said. If a fleet volleys us, we're finished. I'd welcome them, Axis replied. An alarm cut him off. Warning, warp fluctuations detected. Lord Axis, a fleet is approaching, a mortal naval officer reported. Did Horus dare come in person? Or had he sent reinforcements to bait Axis into the warp again? Axis, Horus might be trying to lure you into the warp. We must exit the warp now. We can't fight him there, Kasha said. The Chaos Gods could be using treachery to entrap Axis. Axis nodded and ordered the ship to leave warp drive, returning to real space. The fleet behind them locked onto Axis's vessel and also exited the warp. They followed. They still dare to tail us? In real space, I have nothing to fear. Kasha, teleport me over. I'll teach them a lesson, Axis said, rubbing his hands. Though not fully recovered, he could shift into Super Saiyan long enough to tip the scales. His stamina would keep regenerating in battle. Axis, the fleet approaching doesn't look like Horus's Luna Wolves, nor Emperor's Children, Death Guard, or the 11th. They don't appear to be traitors, Ferrus Manus observed. On the ship's sensors, the opposing fleet approached slowly and sent a hail instead of adopting an attack formation. Indeed, their comm signal indicates they are legions coming to our support, not traitors, Kasha confirmed. Patch their comm through, Axis ordered. The channel opened. I am Perturabo, Gene Seed Primarch of the Iron Warriors. Which Imperial fleet is this? I am Karl, 2nd Primarch, came the reply. It was not 1 fleet, but 2 full legions approaching. When the names were heard, everyone aboard, except Axis and Mater, felt some relief. Mater was uneasy. Fulgrim had warned him that of the 5 legions coming to help, 4 had already betrayed. If 2 had arrived, 1 might be traitor. Fulgrim could also be lying to sow discord. Axis, however, already suspected the Iron Warriors would betray. He wasn't sure about the 2nd Legion. He had met Karl before and harbored a bitter hatred at the destruction of their legion. 100,000 of the 2nd Legion had been his first glorious achievement. If Axis is on board? Long time no see. Do you remember me? Karl asked over the line. When did you 2 rendezvous? What of the other 3 legions? Axis asked. We didn't find the others. I met Carl while making blind jumps through the warp. Then our 2 legions converged. The warp storm was too violent to seek them out, so we followed your ship when we encountered it. Perturabo, Primarch of the Iron Warriors, replied. Axis, come to our flagship. We should discuss plans and try to rendezvous with the remaining 3 legions, Carl suggested. Our vessel is a Gloriana-class battleship. We'll come to your Gloriana, Axis answered and ended the comm. Kasha, raise a psychic shield. I don't want this conversation overheard. Kasha nodded and threw up a psychic barrier that cloaked all the Primarchs present. Everyone, I need to say something. These 2 legions, one may be traitorous or possibly both, Axis said plainly. What? Axis, on what do you base that? The Iron Warriors and the 2nd Legion have fought loyally for the Emperor all these years, Vulcan protested. Axis, did you get this from Fulgrim? Ferris asked. I heard Fulgrim say that of the 5 legions coming, 4 have betrayed, but that could be deception. Both of these could be loyal or both traitors. My source is different, but if Fulgrim says it, there's a strong chance at least one of them is loyal, Axis said. Fulgrim was proud and blunt. If he claimed such a thing, Axis put a high probability on it being true. The Iron Warriors were likely already traitors. Horus didn't know Axis was a transmigrator who clearly recognized the traitor Primarchs. If Horus expected Perturabo to act as an unwitting backstabber, it would be a grave miscalculation. We have no proof yet. How can we tell which Primarch is loyal and which is a traitor? It's possible both are loyal, Korax said. Axis kept the Emperor's wider knowledge to himself. Better not to provoke the Primarchs by revealing what the Emperor supposedly knew. For now, assume Fulgrim's warning was real. Perhaps we can start with the ordinary Marines, Kasha suggested. Their minds are fragile. I can probe them and see if there's evidence of betrayal. Her psychic power was potent. Even most Space Marines couldn't block her. She could read the memories of regular Marines and lower-order intellects with ease, unless they reached Matter's level. Everyone agreed. If either legion was compromised, their gene seed offspring would likely know. Kasha's sweep might reveal the truth. To be safe, Axis added, someone should remain on the ship as a fallback. If things go wrong, we can extract and teleport back. I'll stay, Korax said. Tell them I'm badly injured and can't attend. I'll rendezvous with you later. He had just helped repel the supernova and was exhausted. His combat power hadn't recovered. A treacherous legion could easily overwhelm him, so it made sense to hold the ship. Axis agreed and put Korax in temporary command of the vessel. He, Vulcan, Ferris Manus, and Kasha boarded a transport and set course for the 2nd Primarch's Gloriana-class flagship. According to Fulgrim's intelligence, Axis judged the 2nd Primarch might be the only one among the approaching Primarchs who hadn't betrayed the Emperor. Once Kasha confirmed loyalties, Axis was prepared to act. If Perturabo proved traitorous, Axis would not hesitate to eliminate him. The Iron Warriors also launched a landing craft. Perturabo led his gene seed offspring aboard the transport heading for the meeting. Tell me, who do you think might betray us? Perturabo or the 2nd Primarch Carl? Axis asked aboard the small transport. Honestly, I think both should be loyal to the Emperor, Ferris Manus replied. But after Fulgrim and Horus, I'm not so sure about anything anymore. That's right, Vulcan agreed. Both of them have been staunch in battle. Whether it's the Iron Warriors or the Sons of Tomorrow, they fight hard. I heard the Iron Warriors have a rule called the decimation, Axis said. They say if a mission fails, they pick 1 in 10, and the rest execute that one. There were 3 Primarchs notorious for practicing brutal discipline. One was Angron of the World Eaters, but he had already been dealt with long ago, and the fate of the 12th meant that fate could not repeat. The second was Conrad of the Night Lords, the so-called Space Batman. The third was Perturabo of the Iron Warriors. These 3 held little affection for their sons. They often regarded them as expendable. Perturabo had even earned the mocking nickname Rogue Boss because he'd frequently confined failed warriors into dreadnoughts. That reputation had stuck. Where did you hear that? Vulcan asked, puzzled. There has never been a formal decimation in the Iron Warriors. That kind of practice belongs more to the Night Lords. Axis felt the same shock ripple through him. Had the infamous Rogue Boss changed? Something about his visions had to be different. "What's the current situation with Perturabo's Iron Warriors?" Axis pressed. He needed to understand how his own arrival might have altered things. The survival of the 2nd and 11th Primarchs, and the fact that Angron had been erased by the Emperor, could have shifted destinies in ways he didn't yet grasp. "The Iron Warriors are a powerful chapter, specialists in siege and assault," Ferris Manus said. "They're the second-ranked assault force in the Imperium." "Second?" Axis blinked. "Who's first, then?" "Your Golden Legion, Axis," Ferris answered. "Your sons delight in assault. They relish the hardest fights and the most impregnable strongholds. They take the worst jobs and win them. The Golden Legion is famous across the Imperium. If any legion deserved the title Emperor's Children, it would be yours." Axis's Golden Legion really did have remarkable combat traits. Their transformation into Golden Gene Seed warriors made even new recruits formidable. Since Axis disappeared, they'd carried the banner of the Golden Father into every desperate breach, crying slogans like, "We will not fail the Golden Father, nor the Golden Bloodline. We will not fail the sons of Axis." "All the hardest fights in the Imperium were handled by my sons?" Axis asked, incredulous. Ferris and Vulcan exchanged a look and both nodded. "And what about the 2nd Primarch, Karl, the Sons of Tomorrow?" Axis asked. "The Sons of Tomorrow are the 2nd Legion's new name," Vulcan said. "The 2nd Legion once suffered a tragic blow that almost wiped them out. Afterward, Karl returned to Holy Terra and reformed his legion there." Kasha shot Axis a glance. She remembered the last time, the annihilation that had been blamed on Axis back then. Axis had, in his absence, been the unseen agent who destroyed the 2nd Legion when their Marines had been enslaved by alien technology. It had been the merciful thing to do and had saved Karl's life. "Where is Perturabo's sister now? What became of Olympia?" Axis asked. The uprising on Olympia had been the final spark. Under the weight of the Imperium's harsh rule and the Iron Warriors' brutal culture, the planet's people had risen. Perturabo's sister had led that rebellion, seeking independence. The Iron Warriors were sent to suppress it. Legend said Perturabo ordered a brutal purge: offer surrender and live, refuse and be exterminated. His sister confronted him, and the story said, had been worked to death. The planet was slaughtered. After that, Perturabo joined Horus in rebellion without hesitation, but his fate remained tragic, deceived by Fulgrim, stripped of command at Terra, and haunted by a life he had never wanted. "His sister is fine," Vulcan replied. "Father used Axis's spirit tree fruit to make a tonic that we gave some relatives. It grants long life and physical attributes on par with Space Marines to those not trained for war. Perturabo's sister has worked in a logistics and recruitment role on the Iron Warriors' homeworld." The spirit tree fruit Axis had brought from elsewhere had indeed been a boon to many in the Imperium. "Why are you asking like this? Why suspect Perturabo of treachery?" Ferris asked, frowning. To ordinary ears, these questions might have been innocuous, but to the insight of Primarchs, Axis's line of inquiry pointed to a deeper worry. He had seen something in the warp. "When I was lost in the warp, I saw images that don't match reality," Axis said. "I saw the Iron Warriors failing to be the assault specialists they should be. I saw them practicing decimation. I even saw Perturabo strangling his sister." He spoke it plainly, as if recounting fact. Ferris and Vulcan listened. The warp was inscrutable, and Axis had been there a long time. Visions there could be true, but they could also be mutable. Still, the claim was enough to make them take notice. "Your prophecy could be flawed," Kasha said. "Father's visions changed before. Remember the things he foretold about the 12th? The Warhounds didn't become what we feared. They turned into your Golden Legion." Axis shrugged. "Let's take things step by step. I'm still piecing this together." Soon their transport touched down at the Sons of Tomorrow flagship. The Iron Warriors boarding party arrived around the same time. Guided by a pair of Sons of Tomorrow, the group walked into the reception hall of the Gloriana-class battleship, where Karl, Primarch of the 2nd, waited. "Ha! Long time no see, Axis. I've missed you terribly." Karl strode forward and embraced Axis with boisterous enthusiasm. The exuberant greeting made Axis slightly uneasy. "Long time indeed, Karl. The last time was during the Raiden War," Axis said, smiling faintly. He shot Kasha a look. Kasha understood instantly and began, subtly and without ceremony, to reach out with her psychic talent, slipping into the minds of nearby Marines to search for any trace of unusual thought or betrayal. 243. Karl and Perturabo, The Way of Axis. I still remember the first time we met, Axis, Karl said, patting Axis's shoulder warmly. I was under the control of those Xenos with their terrible devices. If you hadn't saved me, I'd very likely be dead. Yes, the Raiden are a vile race. They've done too much damage to the Imperium, Axis replied with a smile. But don't worry, once this great heresy is settled and I'm free, I will root them out entirely. He spoke with a confidence born of the conviction that had come from being trapped in the warp, the reason the Imperium had lost the Third Zidane War. The Redan had even managed to fashion a weapon from a piece of a star god. Once Axis was free, destroying them would not be a problem. They were terrible. At that time, my legion was almost completely enslaved by their brainwave control devices. With your help, my loyal gene seed offspring were rescued. When I returned to Holy Terra, Father gave my legion a new name, the Sons of Tomorrow. It was to mark that we had abandoned the past for the future, Karl said. After so many years, have you remembered anything of your past? Axis asked quietly. If Karl's rescue had created some tide-changing butterfly effect, what then of the Iron Warrior's betrayal? Would the Second Legion have betrayed if things had gone differently? The old me is gone. That part of my memory vanished with that technology. After my mind was reborn, I remade myself. It's been a long time, Sister Kasha, Karl added, greeting the woman standing nearby. Kasha was the true, biological elder sister of the Geneseed Primarchs, born of the same parents. This isn't the time for reminiscence. Axis, Vulcan, Fenris, what happened? You all look like hell, Perturabo cut in. We failed, Fenris Manus said with a tired sigh. We were utterly defeated. Horus set a trap, a massive ambush. He was waiting for us to take it. If Axis hadn't arrived when he did, the 3 legions we sent could have been wiped out. We might have been killed there. A stunned silence fell over the ship's hull. Even the Space Marines on guard turned, faces incredulous. 3 legions sent out together and virtually destroyed, with only a single frigate returning. The scale of the loss was almost unimaginable. These traitors won't have it forever. We'll regroup and take it back, Karl said, trying to steady his voice. Axis, can your Golden Legion be contacted? If your gene seed offspring can join us, we could turn this around. All eyes moved to Axis. The Golden Legion was massive, arguably the largest and most powerful of the Space Marine legions. The Emperor himself had said that once Axis returned, the Golden Legion would be split into 2 factions, led by Axis and by the son of Axis. There's a violent warp storm raging, Axis said. Astropathic communications are crippled. My legion should be with Gilliman and Sanguinius. I've already sent Jagatai Khan to search for them, but I can't reach them now. That's a shame, Perturabo muttered. Even together, our 2 legions barely number 300,000, just over 270,000 Marines. That won't be enough against Horus' forces. Can you contact the remaining 3 legions? We can't reach them either, Axis admitted. The warp storm has separated us all. Khan should have been with Korax, Karl said, then fell silent as Vulcan spoke. To strike such a blow, Horus detonated a star in his madness, causing a supernova, Vulcan said. Korax was injured while helping Axis to block the blast. He's recovering on the frigate and won't be coming here right now. Is he all right? Karl asked anxiously. He'll be fine after rest, Vulcan answered. Axis glanced at Kasha. They had been talking for over 10 minutes. Axis hoped she'd managed to glean something useful. Kasha, however, merely shook her head. She had already used her potent psychic powers to scan dozens of Space Marines aboard the ship, including members of the Iron Warriors and the Sons of Tomorrow. But the results were surprising. The Marines she scanned were loyalists. Every mission they had been given brought them here to fight the enemies of the Imperium and to put down Horus' rebellion. So how do we contact the other 3 Geneseed Primarchs or arrange a rendezvous? We need to let them know the situation and decide whether to continue the campaign or return to Holy Terra, Perturabo said. If they could link up with those legions, there was still a chance. That's what we hoped to learn, Fenris Manus said. When we fought Fulgrim, we discovered something unusual. Important intelligence? Karl asked. Vulcan and Fenris exchanged glances and then looked pleadingly at Axis. Kasha shook her head again. She had scanned more Marines, including all of Perturabo's gene seed offspring, individually, and found no sign of corruption. Perturabo and Karl showed no evidence of chaos infection. "I'll be blunt," Axis said. "When Fenris fought Fulgrim, Fulgrim told him something about the 5 legions that haven't arrived. According to Fulgrim, 4 of those 5 have betrayed the Emperor. Only 1 remains loyal." Perturabo's face went red with anger. "You mean you suspect us? You're saying one of us, me or Karl, might be a traitor? You think we betrayed the Emperor?" "My brother's Axis, Fulgrim is a traitor himself. How can you put stock in his words?" Karl protested. "Perturabo and I have not betrayed the Emperor." "Karl's right. Fulgrim is poisoning minds to divide us," Perturabo said, scandalized. "You actually believe him?" "We must be cautious," Vulcan said quietly. "Fulgrim was the Emperor's favorite once, and Horus himself has betrayed." "When I was trapped in the warp, I saw visions of the future," Axis said. "I can confirm the Word-Bearers, the Alpha Legion, and the Night Lords have betrayed." "You cannot make such accusations based on visions in the warp and Fulgrim's words alone," Perturabo snapped. "The Chaos Gods could have planted any of those visions. Do you have tangible proof?" "I have no ironclad proof," Axis admitted, "but I am certain these 3 legions are traitors." Axis's certainty only inflamed the hall. The Alpha Legion in particular was shrouded in mystery, always playing both sides, sometimes aiding loyalists, sometimes rebels. Rumors even said Rogel Dorn had once killed one of the Alfarius twins. Which twin had died was never clear. The 20th Legion had always been an enigma. "To be sure of loyalty," Axis continued, "I need both of you to gather all your gene seed offspring here so Kasha can inspect them directly." The demand fell like a weight. It was blunt, heavy-handed, and in Axis's mind the only practical way forward. If the threat of betrayal was real, then the safest course was to verify every Space Marine personally. Kasha's psychic scans could root out corruption given time. "What did you say, Axis?" Karl wiped sweat from his brow, incredulous. Perturabo looked furious at being ordered so bluntly to assemble his forces for inspection. "This isn't a negotiation," Axis said coldly. "We're in an emergency, and we don't have minutes to waste. The Emperor has vested me with supreme authority to act in situations like this. Now decide, will you obey the Emperor's command and submit your men to inspection, or will you defy that order?" 2 and 44. Loyalty. Emperor's Order. Mother Planet. A terrifying aura exploded from Axis. Golden flames leapt around him, and everyone aboard the ship felt an invisible pressure. Axis glowed like a gilded god of war. The presence he exuded froze the blood of those who stood before him, so powerful it sent even the Primarchs shivering, as if they might die in the next breath. It was utterly fearsome. His strength exceeded anything they had imagined. "Axis, what do you mean? Are you going to attack us?" Perturabo demanded, his face hard with fury. A mere suspicion and Axis would strike. It felt arrogant, intolerable. "Accept my proposal. I guarantee that as long as no one is disloyal, everything will be fine," Axis replied. "Calm down, Axis. This could be something Fulgrim said to sow discord. He might be trying to trick us into fighting one another. Don't be taken in by such a crude ploy." Ferris Manus interjected quickly, trying to smooth things over. "Why believe Fulgrim's words? That snake had to be lying." "Axis, please. Things haven't reached a breaking point yet. Before the enemy attacks, are we going to tear ourselves apart?" Vulcan added, attempting to mediate. Only when they faced Axis directly did they understand how terrifying he truly was. No wonder Horus had never confronted him head-on. The gap between them wasn't merely large. Axis was a force who had rampaged through the warp and left the Chaos Gods helpless. "We don't have time to root out traitors one by one. Right now I have only one means to confirm whether these 2 legions are loyal. I must verify them completely," Axis said. He would not have taken such a step if there were any alternative. "I will not accept baseless accusations nor unfounded scrutiny," Perturabo said angrily. "All right, Perturabo, these are extraordinary times. If 3 legions truly have betrayed us, Axis's suspicion isn't without cause. Let us prove our loyalty to the Father." "Axis, I will submit all my gene seed offspring to inspection," Karl offered, stepping forward. "Perturabo, you know how serious this is. Axis's method is a last resort," Vulcan added. Perturabo's chest rose and fell as he met Axis's gaze and found an icy intent. He understood that if he didn't cooperate, Axis would act. I understand. After you inspect the Sons of Tomorrow, I'll bring all the Iron Warriors' gene seed offspring, he said. Good. Carl, bring every gene seed offspring from your ships. I want them all assembled, Axis ordered. Only a portion of each legion's gene seed offspring were aboard the Gloriana-class battleships. Most were dispersed across cruisers. Carl signaled his company commanders to order transports for every gene seed offspring to the mothership. A few hours later, 130,000 Sons of Tomorrow stood assembled. Kasha nodded to Axis and, eyes glowing blue, began to scan the minds of the gathered Astartes one by one. Even with her psychic power, scanning over 100,000 minds took its toll. It consumed 2 full days to sweep the entire legion. Axis, the Sons of Tomorrow have no defects. All are loyal to the Emperor, Kasha reported. She had checked them thoroughly. The Second Legion was sound. Many felt gratitude toward Axis, for he had saved much of the Legion back then, though most of the gene seed offspring had been killed in that purge when they had been tainted by Xenos. Are you relieved now, Axis? Carl asked. He understood Axis's predicament. Given Horus and Fulgrim's betrayals, suspicion was unsurprising. Next, we will inspect the Iron Warrior's mothership, Axis said. While the Sons of Tomorrow were examined, the Iron Warriors had likewise gathered 140,000 men aboard Perturabo's Gloriana-class battleship, awaiting inspection. Axis, I still believe this is a trick. Perturabo would not betray us. He has been faithful to the Imperium, Carl said. I hope you're right, Axis replied, and led Kasha to Perturabo's ship. Perturabo said little. He only ordered his gene seed offspring to submit to the unusual examination. The Iron Warriors wondered why their Primarch had gathered them. The process took 3 days, and Kasha grew visibly drained, but she completed it. No signs of betrayal showed among the Iron Warriors. Axis, these 2 legions are clean. Perhaps Fulgrim deceived us, Kasha said. Axis nodded. If the Sons of Tomorrow and Iron Warriors were loyal, then at least those 2 could be counted on. That left 3 legions still suspect. Horus might command the strength of only 7 legions. Even with 3 legions gone, the Imperium could still field enough forces. 2 legions were tied up against the Raiden. The Imperial fists shielded Holy Terra, and the Ultramarines, Blood Angels, and the Golden Legion could counter the traitors. The Ultramarines, if necessary, could raise over 100,000 battle brothers from Makraj within a few years. In Horus's original fear, the Ultramarines had been the greatest threat. Axis, can I now prove my loyalty to the Father? Perturabo asked, stepping forward. The other Primarchs exhaled with relief. 2 legions had been vindicated. Now, we must decide what to do next, Axis said. First, we need to confirm the status of the remaining 3 legions. The legions that have truly turned are the 11th, the Death Guard, the Sons of Horus, and the Emperor's Children, Perturabo insisted. He still refused to believe Axis's claim that the Word-Bearers, Alpha Legion, and Night Lords had betrayed the Imperium. Vulcan, Ferris Manus, and Korax, recently recovered, agreed. They increasingly suspected Axis's warp visions were manipulations of the Chaos Gods. Fulgrim's words seemed like deliberate provocation meant to split them. My recommendation is to return to Holy Terra and defend it, and await Horus. He will come for Holy Terra, Axis said. What Horus planned next was uncertain. Axis's appearance had already altered the course of the heresy. The Astronomicon burns brightly. The Father sits upon the golden throne. We should try to contact him and seek his command, Kasha proposed. Axis and the others nodded. For now, the Emperor's judgment must decide. Kasha sat cross-legged and summoned the divine power she had inherited. Her body shone with a golden psychic light that cleaved through warp storms. At the same moment on Holy Terra, 2 powerful minds also perceived her approach. 3 great psychic signatures pierced the mists and found one another. Kasha, we do not have much time. Tell me the current situation, the Emperor said. Father, this is the situation, Kasha replied, and related the events in full. Axis had disrupted Horus's plot. The 3 legions had suffered heavy losses, 5 legions had gathered, and they awaited orders. I understand. Tell the Primarchs that I can confirm the remaining 3 legions have betrayed us, the Emperor said. Convey this order. Command the Iron Warriors and the Sons of Tomorrow to move to the Imperium's western front to reinforce Leman Russ and the Lion. The fighting there is dire. 2 legions were already engaged with the Raiden. 2 more must be sent to stabilize that front. Understood, Father. I will inform Perturabo and Karl, Kasha answered. Also, the Salamanders, Raven Guard, and Iron Hands are to withdraw to Holy Terra to assist the Imperial Fists in the defense. The Emperor continued. The rebellion, in this instance, had not been quelled. What about Axis and me? Should we return to Holy Terra as well? Kasha asked. No, you have another mission. Tell Axis that Lorgar and the Word-Bearers have gone to his homeworld, Nuceria. Return there at once. The Golden Legion stationed there remains unaware of the Great Heresy and still considers the Word-Bearers allies. Horus has set a trap to weaken Axis's legion, the Emperor ordered. From the Golden Throne, the Emperor's power had only grown. Even through warp storms, he perceived the events unfolding on Nuceria. With Magnus's aid and the Emperor's guidance, Imperial navigation and communications might yet stand against the raging warp. What? Understood, Father. Axis and I will return to Nuceria immediately, Kasha said. Also tell Axis that his Morning Star has been docked at Nuceria. His son pilots a new Celestial-class mothership, a vessel built by the Morning Star. It is not the equal of the Morning Star herself, but it is advanced, the Emperor added. For a long time, the Phalanx had been the Imperium's largest warship, but Axis's Legion had changed that. The Morning Star was more than a battleship. It could build and produce. Indeed, it had constructed a Celestial-class battleship for Axis's son. Kasha nodded and broke the connection. How did it go? Axis asked. Kasha and brothers, the Emperor confirms the 3 legions and their offspring have betrayed us. His orders are as follows. The Salamanders, Raven Guard, and Iron Hands are to return to Holy Terra to assist the Imperial Fists. The Iron Warriors and Sons of Tomorrow are to move to the Western Front to support the Space Wolves and Dark Angels against the Raiden. As for Axis and me, we must return to Nuceria immediately. Lorgar has been sent there to wreak havoc, and Horus seeks to undermine your legion, Kasha relayed. Understood. Then we will split up and move at once. Kasha and I will take a frigate back to my homeworld. For the remaining more than 8,000 men from the other 3 legions, your 2 legions will provide 3 frigates, Axis said. 245. Return to Nuceria and see the Morning Star. I'll provide 3 Dauntless-class cruisers to help the 3 legions get back to Holy Terra, and Axis, your Sword-class frigate, can be replaced as well, Karl said. 4 Dauntless-class cruisers. If they could spare them, it would be more than enough. It would be unthinkable for a Gene-Seed Primarch and an Imperial Princess to return to their homeworld aboard a single Sword-class frigate. Vulcan smiled. You don't know this, but Father has been secretly developing hyperspace engines. And this Sword-class frigate in front of you is fitted with the Empire's newest hyperspace engine. Theoretically, it's worth more than a Gloriana-class battleship, he added. That explained how Axis had arrived so fast. The frigate's hyperspace drive had been pressed into service, and even the Eldari webway couldn't have gotten him here so quickly without it. A hyperspace engine, Perturabo, Gene-Seed Primarch of the Iron Warriors, brightened. Does that mean we can stop using warp travel? Warp travel was notoriously dangerous. Even with navigators and the guidance of the Astronomicon, accidents in the warp were frequent. Ordinary merchant vessels only reached their destinations safely around 70% of the time. The rest were lost, wrecked, or sometimes reappeared centuries later. The practical advantages of a working hyperspace engine were immense, a dream of technological salvation for humanity. At present, the Empire has only built 10-fold and 20-fold light-speed versions, Kasha explained. The 10-fold drives fit only on small craft for travel between nearby systems. The 19-fold, no, 20-fold drive on Axis's ship is new and has only been deployed on Imperial frigates. It can't be fitted to cruisers or battleships yet, she continued. There's a long way to go before we can abandon warp travel entirely. It's still a monumental discovery, Karl said, excitement in his voice. Father will lead humanity's revival. With hyperspace engines, the future changes. 10-fold today, 30-fold, 40-fold, even 100-fold in the future. After a period of excited discussion, the handover began. The Sons of Tomorrow supplied 2 Dauntless-class cruisers. The Iron Warriors provided 1. All the members of the 3 legions who had been aboard Axis's frigate were transferred to those ships. They made for the Mandeville jump point, ripped into the warp, and set course for Holy Terra under the steady guidance of the Emperor and Magnus to guard against any anomalous warp phenomena. Meanwhile, the remaining forces, the Sons of Tomorrow and the Iron Warriors together, mustered some 270,000 Space Marines and hundreds of millions of mortal soldiers. A great fleet was preparing to head to the Western Imperial Front to rendezvous with Lionel Johnson and Leman Russ and stand against Zidon. Axis, you have no soldiers under your command here. Do you want us to leave you some Space Marines? Carl asked. Absolutely not, Axis replied. I'm going home. There I can gather my gene seed offspring. Don't worry. If Horus is so blind as to set foot on my homeworld, he'll regret it. I guarantee there will be no problems, Axis said. The two Primarchs nodded, and after farewells, split their forces across 3 routes. Cassandra stepped forward. Lord Axis, we've selected the nearest webway portal for you. We'll take you to Nuceria. Under the guidance of the Clown Troop, Axis's frigate entered the webway portal and began the flight toward Nuceria. Along the way, the Emperor contacted Kasha from time to time to feed Axis the latest intelligence. In the original timeline, it had been the Emperor and Guilliman's Ultramarines who had destroyed the Perfect City. This time, the Emperor had done it alongside the Golden Legion, and that altered who Lorgar's hatred fixed upon. Not Guilliman, but Axis. Lorgar's revenge was directed at Axis's homeworld rather than Ultramar. Easier, after all, to marshal one planet's defenses than 500 worlds. Axis, Kasha said when she next relayed the Emperor's messages, your legion has been split. 150,000 are with our son Kratos. He's mixed in with Guilliman's Ultramarines. Sanguinius is said to be there as well. The remaining 130,000 are under Khorne and have received orders from Horus. Horus claimed your homeworld is about to be attacked by a large orc fleet. He even sent Lorgar to assist. That orc fleet is fictitious. When the word-bearers arrive at Nuceria, they will likely launch an attack. Axis listened, a bitter tightness in his chest. He had once held some fondness for Lorgar. If only Lorgar hadn't gone missing, perhaps the Perfect City incident could have been averted. The future national religion Axis hoped to build needed reliable allies. Now those plans would have to be rethought. The establishment of the faith would have to wait until after the Great Crusade. The webway moved at blistering speed, and Axis's frigate, with its hyperspace-capable drive, made rapid progress. They arrived in system at Nuceria faster than Lorgar's word-bearers. Returning to his old home filled Axis with complex emotion. For him, only months had passed. For his gene-seed offspring, his absence had been nearly a century. As they entered the Nuceria system, Axis's psychic senses brushed against a familiar machine spirit, the Morning Star. The spirit recognized its true master, and it responded violently, immediately dispatching a small landing craft that intercepted the frigate and recovered Axis and Kasha before they even had a chance to set foot on the planet. Father, this is wonderful. The Morning Star's synthetic voice rang as its virtual image took form for Axis. I knew you would return. I've been waiting for you. I've prayed for your return. And your great mother, she must get better and come back to your side. You've waited a long time, Morning Star, Kasha said, smiling. Tell me everything that has happened. Morning Star, you acknowledge my son, do you not? Axis asked. Yes, Great Master, the ship replied. It was I who extracted the infant master from Mother's failing body and transplanted him into Ms. Yudun's womb. The situation was urgent. Forgive me for acting on my own initiative. You saved my and Kasha's child. What crime is that? Axis said. I heard you also made a Morning Star for him. During the third battle with Zidon, I served as the flagship of the Golden Legion, the Morning Star explained. I captured 2 of Zidon's Celestial-class satellite weapons. One I retained for refit and maintenance. The other, I refitted it into your son's exclusive flagship, and I instilled on it a replicated machine spirit, an operational clone of myself. Axis felt relief. Are my things still aboard? Everything has been carefully preserved, the Morning Star said. Except for a portion of the spirit tree fruits I gave to the young master, I have safeguarded all of your possessions. You may reclaim them at any time. Axis heard the care in the ship's tone. The master's belongings had been guarded as if by a faithful retainer. The Morning Star knew more of his secrets than anyone. Good, Axis said. Then he asked, "What of the space Necrons and any progress on the hyperspace engine research I asked you to pursue before I left?" Before he vanished, Axis had given the Morning Star two orders: secretly guard the space Necron Grandu deep within the ship, and study the hyperspace engine and the Frieza Legion weaponry taken from King Vegeta's collection. Grandu had also promised before Axis left that he would produce a phase-shifting teleportation device suitable for widespread issue across the Legion. Now Axis wanted to know how far they had come. "Don't worry, Father," the Morning Star replied. "I followed your instructions. Let me show you everything. First, the Frieza Legion sniper rifle. I've successfully replicated it. It's devastating. From range, a single shot can fell a Space Marine in Terminator heavy armor. Even a Gene Seed Primarch in power armor wouldn't stand after a hit. Multiple rounds can kill one." She signaled servitors, and they brought out several completed rifles, sleek, over 2 meters long, loaded with specially designed rounds forged from gold essence. Axis examined them and nodded. "Good. These can be issued in limited numbers to the Legion when I approve. Nothing leaves without my authorization." "I understand, Father," the Morning Star continued. "I've also improved the Legion's combat suits, including the special one you requested." She revealed a highly advanced humanoid armor with a strong Saiyan combat suit aesthetic, lightweight, agile, and capable of flight. It looked like custom-styled power armor, reminiscent of exotic mecha designs. Tailored for Axis's frame, it weighed about 100 kilograms when worn, far lighter than the several hundred-kilogram power suits of ordinary Space Marines, while offering enhanced defenses against cosmic radiation and vacuum exposure. All weapon systems were removed and a life support suite was integrated. It also has an energy shield generator, the Morning Star added. When activated, it projects a field capable of absorbing heavy fire. Axis smiled. The shield was a comfort for others. His own aura could stop a planet's explosion, but the armor would be useful to Kasha and his son. "Excellent. I'm pleased. Make several more sets." Guided by the Morning Star, Axis donned the suit. It fit perfectly and felt almost weightless, with superb flexibility. It could withstand even legendary Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 4 levels of power, though the Great Ape form had not been considered in its design. "I've produced hundreds of these," the Morning Star said. "Their defensive and life-sustaining capabilities even surpass standard Terminator armor. They'll more than meet your daily needs." "Very good," Axis replied. "I approve." "Father," she went on, "that space Necron is still secured in the core chamber. It has never left. I've confined its activity to a single area. No one but you and I know of it. It has been instrumental in developing the phase-shifting teleportation devices. We worked together to refine them. I fashioned them into rings and bracelets." Axis bristled with interest. "Tell me about the teleportation equipment in detail." "The devices come in 3 variants," the Morning Star explained. "A low-level bracelet, a mid-level bracelet, and a high-level ring. The low-level bracelet performs phase-shift teleportation within a city's range, using the wearer's line of sight for targeting. Each use triggers a cooldown of about 10 seconds. The internal fusion battery supplies up to 10 uses before it needs recharging. The mid-level bracelet extends range to continent-scale teleportation, powered by a plasma battery. The high-level ring is the pinnacle. It enables phase-shift teleportation up to 2 astronomical units. The energy cell for it was developed by Grandu and me, an antimatter-driven source that provides 100 uses before replacement. The ring can also store a preset coordinate. In critical moments, you can instantly teleport back to a pre-positioned ship at that coordinate with no cooldown." Axis's mind raced. 2 astronomical units for boarding actions was revolutionary. Boarding normally required ships to be within 0.01 AU because sublight boarding craft took hours to cross even small distances. A 2 AU teleport capability would allow boarding from far greater standoffs, effectively a super weapon. The range also exceeded most psychic intellect library teleportation. Only Kasha and Mater could normally achieve beyond that. "How many can we produce? Can they be mass-produced?" Axis asked. "The low-level bracelet can be mass-produced. The production line I set up can make hundreds per day. Scale it up and you can make many more, but they consume enormous energy. The fusion batteries are costly to manufacture. The mid-level bracelet requires plasma batteries and costs over 100 times more than the low-level unit. The high-level ring is the hardest. It needs rare materials and a reliably produced antimatter battery. So far, we've only produced a dozen. Axis calculated quickly. Low-level bracelets for broad issue to Space Marines, mid-level for company commanders as advanced field gear, and the high-level rings reserved for him, Kasha, their son, and perhaps distributed to other gene seed Primarchs as a personal life-saving device. Produce mid-level bracelets for our company commanders, he decided. Focus the bulk of production on the low-level bracelet and on more high-level rings. I understand, Father. There's more, the Morning Star added. I've made significant progress on the hyperspace engine as well. I've replicated the engine and developed a super-large variant installed on my systems, granting me personal travel at 60 times the speed of light. She continued, I've also produced a 40 C-times version intended for installation on the Empire's super-heavy warships, including Gloriana-class battleships. Axis grinned. The Morning Star's machine spirit had clearly outpaced the academic research teams that had been working on the problem for generations. Excellent work. Install a 40C unit on my Gloriana-class battleship immediately. I will, Father, she replied. I'll need your approval for several mineral worlds to supply enough materials for production. Axis considered the implications: new weapons, new mobility, and a teleportation capability that could change the face of naval warfare and boarding tactics. He gave a curt nod. Authorize whatever is necessary. Provision the production lines. I want those rings and the combat armor prioritized. Yes, Father. The Morning Star's tone was efficient and pleased. She already had plans mapped out. Axis could see that the Legion's capabilities were about to change in ways few in the galaxy would expect. Let's discuss this when I return to the Legion. Right now, I don't even know how many assets the Legion actually holds, Axis said. He had been gone for 100 years. Before he left, the Golden Legion had only a single homeworld and a handful of mining worlds in its home system. Everything out here had changed while he was in the warp. Father, I have a full ledger of your holdings, Morning Star replied. You retain the right to collect taxes from 81 star systems, 36 hive worlds, 11 forging worlds, and 34 agricultural worlds. All are within 50 light years of the homeworld. Almost every uninhabited world has been developed into mining worlds, and several suitable planets are being terraformed into habitable or specialized worlds. You need only 2 or 3 mining planets for supply. Good. Choose 3 as supply hubs. I'll decide the specifics when I return to the Legion, Axis said. Understood, Father. Vice Lord Commander Khorne already knows of your return. Shall I summon him to the homeworld? Morning Star asked. The moment Morning Star sent the notification, the entire Nuceria had been told. Captain Khorne, who held the main base, had been overjoyed and immediately began mobilizing the Legion and the planet to receive the Gene Father. First, prepare a ship for me. I want to inspect my collection. Also arrange for Grandu to be ready. I want to meet this space Necron. After that, I will return to the homeworld. Axis paused. Begin the preparations. Yes, Father, I'm on it. Guided by Morning Star, Axis went to his private vault. He inspected what he had left stored there. A summoning device filled with God of Destruction energy, original cultivator seeds from the Dragon Ball world, a cache of mind tree seeds, some native, some harvested here, and a large stock of spirit tree fruit. Those items could be used to strengthen the entire Legion. Without hesitation, he packed the spirit tree fruit to take with him. Several hundred remained. If processed into a concentrated potion, they could fortify the Golden Legion once more. He paused before the summoning device that contained God of Destruction energy. He would not risk absorbing that energy lightly. The gods of the Dragon Ball world were hierarchically distinct. Planetary gods like Earth's Kami on most inhabited worlds, the royal Kais above them, a world king, and then the God of Destruction. In theory, the world king and a God of Destruction were peers, but destructive power and divine energy of a God of Destruction dwarfed ordinary divine ranks. Mortal transformations like Super Saiyan 4 maximized a Saiyan's mortal potential, but they remained mortal, and a God of Destruction's power could pulverize such forms. To transcend that gulf required walking the path of true godhood. He also took a handful of the Warhammer-verse mind tree seeds. He planned an experiment. Plant those seeds and see what effects they produced here. Even if they were weaker, the results might still be usable to benefit the Space Marines. After securing what he needed, Axis retreated to a private chamber aboard the ship. The door opened, and a green metallic skeleton bowed before him. "Oh my Lord Axis, you finally remembered me. It's been almost 100 years. You completely ignored me," the Necron said. In these last decades, Grandu had felt like he'd been rusting away. Aside from research tasks, he had little to occupy himself with. "Father, I didn't tell him you disappeared. He always assumed you were still here, only not visiting often," Morningstar transmitted over an encrypted channel. "You've done well these years. I'm pleased with the warp phase bracelets and warp rings," Axis said. "Thank you, Lord Axis. But without me, hyperspace engine research would have stalled. Morningstar could at most manage 30 times the speed of light on its own. As for mass-producing new models, 20 times would be the practical cap," Grandu replied without reserve. He was not boasting. He knew the limitations. With his input and the incorporation of Space Necron technologies, Morningstar had been fitted with an engine capable of 60 times light speed, an exceptional, almost rare achievement. Building that gigantic hyperspace engine had consumed everything they had. They had even cannibalized a Celestial-class battleship to complete the design. The mass-produced variant, capable of 40 times light speed and installable on most Imperial warships, also owed much to his work. "Is that so?" Axis said. "Then keep pushing. I'm eager to see an engine exceed 100 times light speed." The Necron engines routinely manage several hundred, sometimes up to 1,000 times light speed. "If you want that, you'll need the galaxy's best minds," Grandu answered. "The engine you gave us could power 1/3 of the smallest frigate. Scaling a miniaturized advanced engine up to a Celestial-class hull demanded significant Necron tech and compromises. 60 times the speed was already my limit for this design. Hitting 100 will require breakthroughs in top scientists." Axis nodded, and they talked a while longer. Then Axis made a decision. "I'll give you more freedom aboard this ship. You may roam the lower decks at will," he said. "You are merciful, Lord Axis, but I'd rather get out and see the galaxy." "I've been confined to a ship for 100 years, Grandu admitted. "It's not safe out there." "A massive war is approaching," Axis said quietly. The Horus heresy would set the galaxy ablaze. His words were not idle caution. He would not risk Grandu's destruction. Grandu shrugged, resigned. Even with a machine soul and augmentations, he knew Axis would never fully trust him. Axis relented in part. "Fine. Morningstar, arrange a small vessel so Grandu may travel freely inside this star system. If he visits human settlements, ensure he is disguised so he doesn't cause panic." "My respects, Great Lord Axis," Grandu said, bowing deeply. Axis nodded and left the cabin without looking back. It was time to return to his homeworld and his gene-seed children. Soon, Axis and Kasha boarded a shuttle and set course for Nuceria. The Golden Legion had erupted into a fever. When Morningstar broadcast the Genefather's return, Khan had summoned captains, mustered the honor guard, and called every available Marine to arms. "The Genefather returns. My battle brothers, prepare. He has carved his way out of the warp, slain demons, and returned to the real universe," Khan bellowed, raising his power axe. "Great Gene-Seed Primarch, great Axis, great King of the Golden Legion, welcome back." The roar of 130,000 Marines rolled through the planetary capital like thunder. 100 years had grown the cult of Axis into legend. A 1,000-meter statue of Axis in his Super Saiyan form, hair locked in gold, dominated the planetary center. Dozens more 100-meter effigies dotted the cities, all depicting the Primarch in his golden, spiked-haired form. Axis felt a swell of pride as he looked upon the monument to him, a planet that believed in his name, his line. He staged his return. Axis augmented his frame into a 3-meter combat form, then shifted into his normal Super Saiyan state. Golden light and arcs of lightning washed his body as he floated from the landing craft above the capital, arms outstretched. "My children," he called, shaping his voice with ki until it carried across the sky. The shout carried psychic force, reverberating over the entire globe. Civilians fell to their knees in the streets and on rooftops. Axis's gene-seed sons answered in kind. At his presence, they triggered their own golden transformations. bodies bathing in the same shimmering light as their father. The Golden Legion's elite stood in perfect formation, power armor gleaming like a sea of living metal. Vice Lord Commander Khorne dropped to one knee, his power axe horizontal in front of him. Behind him, 130,000 Space Marines cheered as one. Genefather, Golden King, long live Axis. Billions of citizens prostrated themselves. Holographic banners filled the skies with images of Axis sweeping through the stars. Khan's voice cracked with emotion as he spoke up. Great Genefather, we have not failed you. For 100 years, the Golden Legion has campaigned, conquering and winning. We have honored your bloodline. You have returned to your throne. The Golden Legion has never wavered. Your will is our destiny. Axis floated like a god above the planet, golden key staining the clouds and whipping them into a vortex. The people poured out their loyalty, and Axis answered in kind, his voice amplified by psychic channels. My children, I was in the warp for 100 years. I fought enemies beyond count, slew demons, and even vanquished mortal avatars of chaos. I have returned, but the galaxy is not at peace. The evil of chaos has struck deep. Horus, the War Master, has betrayed the Emperor. He has raised his hand in rebellion. Silence struck the Legion like a blow. None had expected the Genefather to bring such news. The Imperium burns with traitors, Axis said, his tone hardening. The Golden Legion will rend that darkness like a blade. You will follow me, and we will show these traitors what true power is. Horus has betrayed the Emperor. Annihilate the despicable traitor, the Marines cried. For the great Genefather, annihilate the enemies of the Imperium. Destroy War Master Horus, they roared, led by Khorne. One knee, one vow. Axis nodded, satisfied. He had returned to rally and to prepare. The next order was simple, grim, and immediate. Prepare for war, my children. The Word-Bearer's Legion is coming. 248. Strengthen the Golden Legion and prepare for war. Axis's decree thundered through the Golden Legion and echoed in every warrior's ears. Kratos rose abruptly, driving his power axe into the plaza until the stone cracked. Shame! Traitors will pay in blood. The son of Axis will smash the Word-Bearers for the Genefather. He had long wondered why War Master Horus would send Lorgar's Word-Bearers to reinforce them. The Golden Legion did not need them. Even if the main Imperial armies arrived, the Legion still fielded over 100,000 battle brothers here. Their 130,000-strong force could match 2 full Imperial legions, and after a golden transformation, they could overwhelm another. With his own training and the century since his Genefather's disappearance, Kratos had pushed himself relentlessly. Now, in his most extreme state, he could reach a 10-fold golden transformation, an enhancement that let him trade blows with top-tier gene-seed Primarchs like Sanguinius or Lionel Johnson for several moves. Lorgar was known as one of the weaker Primarchs. Kratos did not even need his Genefather's aid to confront him. If the Word-Bearers thought to surprise them, they would be cut down. As long as the Golden Legion stood ready, any Word-Bearers sent would die. For the Genefather, eliminate the despicable traitors, destroy the Word-Bearers. The Legion roared as one. Golden psychic energy surged, filling the sky. The Capitol Plaza became like a burning sun, blinding, magnificent. Axis watched with satisfaction as his own golden key flared across the heavens. He swept in a circuit around the planet, making his presence visible to nearly every major city on Nuceria. He proclaimed the return of the Golden King, and the entire world erupted in cheers. After the display, Axis gathered many company commanders and led them to the Genefather's reception hall. Great Genefather, this was once your residence, Kratos said, leading the commanders as they knelt. We have kept it as a sacred place, preserved in its original form, waiting for your return. The palace had been jealously guarded by the Golden Legion. None were permitted to profane the halls the Genefather had once walked. You are mostly new faces, Axis observed. He let his chi sweep over them, reading the state of their gene seed. I can feel you break the 5-fold. Many of you reach 6-fold, some 7-fold, but the strongest among you is Kratos. You can reach 10-fold. The Golden Legion was large. With size came the higher chance of exceptional individuals. Not a single company commander present was below a 6-fold golden transformation. The baseline for veterans was 5-fold, for recruits 3-fold, and new initiates 2-fold. Only those who could reach 6-fold or higher commanded a company. Axis's philosophy was simple and brutally meritocratic. The strong were honored and rewarded. "You have done well," Axis said. "I will give you rewards to make you stronger." He produced hundreds of spirit tree fruits and set them before the commanders. A century earlier, he had used the fruit, diluted and distributed, to boost the entire legion. Many of that generation had since fallen in battle or entered dreadnought chassis. Many who remained were fresh recruits who had never tasted the fruit. "Should we continue taking spirit tree fruit?" one commander asked. "Yes," Axis replied. "A cruel war approaches, a great heresy, worse than you imagine. We must raise the Legion's combat power. I have more than the fruit, teleportation bracelets, and a new type of sniper rifle." The City West Star had already produced a large cache of bracelets and rifles. Axis intended to select a corps of snipers for battlefield assassinations. "Thank you, Gene Father," a commander said, "but believe in your gene-seeded sons. Even without these gifts and without more fruit, we can defeat the invaders." "Ha! Why not use every advantage if it's available?" Axis laughed. "Your confidence pleases me. I will command this war from the main base. Can you bring me victory?" "Great Gene Father, we will win," Kratos vowed. "I will personally descend to challenge Lorgar, defeat this traitor, cut off his head, and present it to you." Axis smiled broadly. "Bold and admirable. If you defeat Lorgar, I will give you a spirit tree fruit, and you will stand permanently at my side, fighting for me." "I will not disappoint you," Kratos said, voice ringing. "I stake my place as a golden gene seed offspring. We will not disgrace the golden bloodline." The other commanders roared their assent. Axis ordered the Legion's apothecaries to press the spirit tree fruits into juice, dilute the extract, and portion it out. Bowls of crimson liquid were set before every gene-seeded son. "Drink," Axis commanded. "This will drive your strength past its limits. You will shine golden on the battlefield and cast back the darkness." "For the great Gene Father," came the cry. The warriors lifted their bowls and drank. A warm life aura washed over them, knitting old wounds from the Great Crusade and hardening their bodies. Many veterans who had been fivefold broke through to sixfold after the dose. Axis watched with satisfaction. When the enhancements were complete, Axis produced 130,000 teleportation bracelets and distributed them so his warriors could familiarize themselves with the new ability. He then selected 300 expert marksmen and issued each a specialized sniper rifle. Satisfied, he retired to his chamber to wait for Lorgar's arrival. Later, Axis spoke quietly about his lineage. "I have already chosen a name for my son. He will be called Kratos. Can you contact him?" An aide hesitated, then answered, "Great Gene Father, about a year ago, your other son, Kratos, received orders from War Master Horus to assist Guilliman on the Imperium's eastern front. He has not yet returned." After I deal with Lorgar, I will go find him," Axis said. "I am very much looking forward to meeting this son." "He will not disappoint you," the aide insisted. "When he was young, his power already surpassed mine. He could perform the golden transformation, the perfect one inherited from you, a 50-fold increase, even at 5 or 6 years old." The man's pride was unmistakable. Although many were called the Gene Father's sons, some bore truer blood than others. Axis's named heir, Kratos, carried a legacy of prodigious potential. Axis nodded. Mixed-blood Saiyans, children of Saiyans and humans, had excellent potential, provided the father was a warrior who could become a Super Saiyan. In that case, their descendants would very likely be able to transform easily, and mixed bloods born to Earthlings would carry a high number of S cells. That was true in the Warhammer universe. In the Dragon Ball world, the child could have easily mastered Chi energy. Mixed bloods had exceptional potential, but in the Dragon Ball timeline, only a handful ever achieved real glory. At most, they reached Super Saiyan 3. Gohan developed Mystic and Beast forms, but none of the Super Saiyan paths in his line reached Super Saiyan 4. In theory, a mixed blood with a tail who could turn into a great ape could reach Super Saiyan 4, but among the known mixed bloods, only Gohan was born with a tail. Goten and Trunks were ambiguous in the stories. Magnus had said his son had a tail, so in theory, the child might reach Super Saiyan 4, but theory was theory. There was no Chi energy in this world, and Axis felt his son being able to become a Super Saiyan at all was already exceptional. Can the hair go golden green? When they transform, does the hair stand up, And is there lightning around the body? Have you seen that form? Axis asked. We're sorry, Father, Khorne answered. We haven't seen the form you describe in Brother Kratos. He's like our golden transformation. His hair turns gold, and a powerful golden flame erupts from his body. He added that their gene father also had golden green hair. There was another transformation, hair standing on end and lightning crackling around the body, that supposedly increased power by more than 100-fold, but they had not witnessed it. I understand. This war is up to you. Don't disappoint me, Axis said. He had no patience for the weaker gene seed Primarchs. He didn't care for weaklings. Leave it to us, great Gene Father. Khorne bowed and left the palace. It seems our son didn't inherit your legendary Super Saiyan form, Kasha murmured. Transformation is a genetic mutation among Saiyans. I didn't master that form naturally either. Your father modified me to obtain it. If it were purely natural, one would only be born in our race every 1,000 years, Axis chuckled, explaining how rare a legendary Super Saiyan truly was. Kasha smiled. If my father had lived in your world, he'd have seen more than 40 legendary Super Saiyans, she said. To an immortal, 1,000 years was nothing. Her father, the Emperor, had lived over 40,000 years, nearing 50. Ha! That's true. You didn't master it naturally. You were modified by father. Could our son be modified the same way? Kasha asked. As a mother, she wanted her son to be as powerful and brave as his father. That isn't realistic, Axis said. The reason I survived the surgery back then was largely thanks to chi energy. Without chi, the modification can't be completed. The legendary form is more extreme than ordinary Saiyan changes. It's already a miracle that I, and your mixed blood, were born and survived without chi. If the Emperor had tried such experiments, Kasha thought, her son would have been a legendary Super Saiyan long ago. Besides, offspring of a legendary Super Saiyan were not guaranteed the same power. I understand, she said, but our son possesses the combat power of a gene seed Primarch. That's enough. What more could you ask for? He can defeat a great many gene seed Primarchs, Axis replied with a smile. He's second only to me. Still, Axis allowed for possibilities. If the boy ever learned to control divine power, other options might open. I'm going to the Psychic Observation Hall to monitor the warp across the galaxy. Make sure Lorgar doesn't strike, Kasha said. She waved to Axis and headed for the chamber. There, her psychic abilities could be projected perfectly, scanning the whole galaxy. Any warp rift would be detected immediately, and the Legion warned at once. 3 days passed. Axis's Legion had completed refits and become familiar with the teleportation bracelets. Their strength had increased substantially. A warp fluctuation appeared. A Word-Bearer's Legion of roughly 150,000 warriors, accompanied by over 100 battleships, had entered the Nuceria system. Lorgar sent a psychic message to Nuceria, claiming he had come to assist in defending against an incoming orc horde, and requested the planet's orbital defense batteries be taken offline. Axis sneered. He didn't even let Kasha relay the message. He replied himself, projecting his words directly through psychic power to Lorgar's flagship. Pleasure to meet you, Lorgar. I am Axis. I'm delighted to welcome you and your army to my world, Axis said. It's you, Axis. Have you returned to the normal universe? Lorgar answered. I'm here to support the planet's defenses. Please remove the orbital cannons to avoid misunderstandings. Lorgar. Axis felt the old hatred stir in the Word-Bearer's Primarch. Among the Space Marine legions, Lorgar loathed Axis's Golden Legion above all. The perfect city had been razed by those warriors bathed in golden chi. They descended from the skies and crushed the city's defenders, leaving nothing but ruin and the Emperor's warning. Lorgar had been pushed to the Eye of Terror by his mentor and advisor Erebus, had met the Chaos Gods there, and had helped orchestrate Horus's fall. He'd expected more reward from the Chaos powers than Horus received, and that resentment burned. Now Lorgar had hoped to find revenge, but he hadn't expected Axis, the god of slaughter, to be here himself. He would have to consider withdrawing. Stop the pretense, Lorgar, Axis said. I don't like talking in circles. I know you betrayed the Emperor. I know why you've come to my world. Lorgar's expression darkened. What nonsense, he snapped. I didn't betray anyone. Don't talk rubbish. He tried to deflect. Only 4 Gene Seed Primarchs had formally declared rebellion so far. Perhaps Axis couldn't be certain. He couldn't show weakness. Not here. Don't quibble, Axis replied coldly. My chi energy is extremely sensitive to chaos. I can feel that your legion, your gene seed offspring, have been corrupted by chaos power. Disguise is futile, Lorgar. Frankly, I despise you. You complain about a destroyed city? The spirit tree fruit I once gave you was far more precious, and nobody was harmed. You resented me and even the Emperor over such a trivial thing? Axis's words lit Lorgar's fury. The word-bearer's Primarch's face contorted. Chaos energy roiled around him, and his roar cracked across the psychic link. Blasphemer! You think raising the perfect city was little? It was a symbol of faith, a sacred temple, and you, your son and your golden dogs, burned it to the ground. Lorgar raged. Axis's mockery only inflamed him further, but Axis was done with words. Some of the gene seed Primarchs are infants with god complexes, he said. I'm not wasting time on you. I won't deal with you personally. You're not worthy. I'll let my gene seed offspring handle you. He cut the psychic connection. Turning to Khorne, he said lightly, Begin. Let Lorgar see what true power is. Khorne grinned and activated a ship-wide broadcast. Golden Legion! Attack for the Gene Father! The Golden Legion's orbital batteries flared first. The muzzles of the Word-Bearer's warships glowed with foul purple light as Daemon engines screamed into action. Lorgar's pretense shattered, and with a thunderous clash, the two legions collided among the stars. Led by their captains, Axis's gene seed offspring launched boarding actions. They did not waste time on finesse or elaborate rituals. They struck with overwhelming, uncompromising force. Boom, boom, Nuceria's planetary defense batteries opened fire first. These were no ordinary macro cannons. They were super-heavy orbital guns modified by the Morning Star. Each barrel was the size of a battleship's main gun, and their output dwarfing ordinary point defense batteries. When the first volleys ripped through the void, the Word-Bearer's vanguard had no time to raise their void shields. Blinding white beams sliced through 3 cruisers. One was vaporized outright, the others disintegrated in a chain reaction, their burning wreckage tumbling like meteors toward Nuceria's atmosphere. Chaos erupted on the Word-Bearer's comms. Evade! Evade! Commanders screamed as their ships swung for emergency maneuvers. Their orbital firepower, one commander was cut in half by a blast before he finished. The second salvo followed. This time the Word-Bearers reacted. Several capital ships' void shields barely held, only to be overwhelmed when Axis's Golden Legion reached full firing range. The bombardment pressure hit the ship's shields at critical levels, and the void shields collapsed under the strain. One battleship took a direct hit. Its armor burned through, and internal magazines detonated in a chain reaction that tore the vessel in two. Its hull twisted silently in vacuum and then burst into a shower of fireworks, killing scores of cultists and rebels. Lorgar stood on his flagship's bridge, face dark. Axis, you damn bastard, you were prepared all along, he roared. His plan had been to coerce Nuceria into lowering its defenses, then drop troops to seize the surface. Now his fleet couldn't even reach orbit. A host of Golden Legion ships were closing, and worst of all, he had not yet seen the Morning Star itself, the Imperium's largest battleship. All warships, concentrate fire on that main gun platform, Lorgar barked, pointing at the largest orbital battery on the holoprojector. The Word-Bearer's vessels swung their turrets and their foul, purple-black energy beams began to charge. Fire! Dozens of chaos beams shot toward the orbital array and were met by a pale golden shield that unfolded just before impact. It was the Holy Shield deployed by the Golden Legion. Not a void shield, but an energy barrier, synthesized from the Yondan shielding tech the Morning Star had analyzed and augmented with Necron-derived systems from Grandor. It worked alongside void shields to give Imperial orbital batteries and ships dual protection. The chaos fire crashed into it and only sent ripples across its surface. Across the battlefield, Axis's voice spread through psychic channels. Lorgar, do you honestly think I'd let you touch my planet? Think again. I will teach you despair. The planetary defenses fell silent. The Golden Fleet's strike cruisers had closed to boarding range. Boarding pods ready, Kaus's voice announced on the net. Let them learn what Golden Fury is. Golden Legion strike craft plunged into the Word-Bearer's formation like blades. When boarding pods punched through hulls, the hum of chainswords already filled the corridors before the hatches even cycled. The first wave of Golden Legion warriors detonated their golden transformation as they spilled aboard. A radiant, sun-bright aura flared from their armor as they surged into the word-bearers. For the Golden Bloodline, for the Golden Father. Axis's gene seed offspring roared. Lorgar ordered a counterattack, but the Golden Legion had already ripped open bulkheads. Captain Clement of the 15th Company, his fists burning with sun-like flame, smashed a charging Chaos Space Marine in one blow. The man never even had time to scream. The gap in combat power was obvious. The Golden Transformation made each Golden Legionnaire far stronger than a standard Space Marine, and Axis had been carefully enhancing his sons for decades. Any Golden Legionnaire could take on several word-bearers at once. "Shield wall, advance," Squad Leader Drac growled. 10 men locked their boarding shields into a moving bulwark and pushed forward. Word-bearer rounds bounced off the ceramite, leaving pockmarks but doing little to stop them. 5 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter. Kill! The shield wall split and chainswords fanged through, a blade shearing a word-bearer's helmet and tearing his skull open. In another pod, the assault team smashed through a warship's chapel. Blasphemous idols shattered as golden warriors poured into a hall where 30 priests had been mid-ritual. The eldest priest raised his scepter just as a warp portal bled open and a torrent of demonic flesh poured out. Demons leapt at the Golden Legion, and for a moment, the word-bearers found relief. Without summons, the word-bearers would have been crushed within hours, but the fleet's makeshift summoning arrays and warlocks, supported by their legion's lorekeepers, could not open a truly powerful portal. Lorgar's original plan had been to begin mass sacrifices on Nuceria itself, billions of mortals slaughtered to throw the planet into the warp. Now, with only limited shipboard rituals, the summoned daemons were numerous, but not overwhelming. Even so, the Golden Legion saw no casualties in the boarding action so far. Where demons lunged, they were incinerated by golden energy fields. Superior strength, superior discipline, superior gene seed. The balance tilted hard against the word-bearers. For the Golden Father, the Golden Legionnaires beat themselves bloody against their foes. Chaos, First Company Captain, led by example. He spearheaded an elite Terminator squad straight for the command bridge. He had not boarded a corvette, but struck at the heart, Lorgar's Gloriana-class battleship. To catch the thief, catch the king. His mission from the great Gene Father was to slay the traitor Primarch Lorgar. Chaos strode into the bridge, wielding twin power axes, his armor a halo of golden fire. Each blow could flatten a Chaos Space Marine. "Lorgar," he thundered, "your betrayal ends here. Come out and face me." Lorgar stood at the command console, eyes burning with warp fire. "Chaos," the Primarch's voice was a whisper from the abyss. "Axis's lapdog at last arrives. Where is your Gene Father? Is this all he sends? A pup to see me?" Chaos answered only by raising his axes. Golden energy swelled around him. Tenfold golden transformation. A star of light detonated. Chaos hurled himself at the Primarch. Lorgar laughed, chaos energies snapping about him and the runes on his power maul glowing purple. "Come then, let me see how strong Axis's brat is." There was an unbridgeable gulf between a Primarch and a Space Marine, but in the first clash, Chaos held his own. The floor cracked under the force of the impact. Their weapons crashed together with a ringing clang that shattered the bridge's holoscreens. Lorgar felt the blow ripple through his arms. The Chaos runes on his maul sputtered. "You? How is this possible?" Disbelief cut across his face. Chaos, in tenfold golden transformation, had not only survived the exchange, he had even cracked the head of Lorgar's maul. "Surprised, traitor?" Chaos sneered, his aura burning. "The golden bloodline is more potent than you imagine. This is the power the great Gene Father has granted me." Chaos had sparred often with his brother Kratos and never bested him outright, and he had expected Lorgar to be incomparably stronger. Instead, the Primarch seemed ordinary. Chaos pressed the advantage, his second strike faster, harder. The blade grazed Lorgar's shoulder, tearing master-crafted ceramite like cloth. Blood welled and anger exploded in the Primarch. "You dare wound me, wound a great gene seed Primarch." He roared, and chaos energy boiled to life within him. His counterattack was sudden and lethal. The chaos-blessed maul smashed toward Chaos's chest. Chaos took the blow without dodging. His breastplate dented. He answered with a crushing punch that sent Lorgar staggering. This one's for the great Gene Father, he spat, blood at his mouth. Lorgar's skin knit under warp blessings, but the shock only deepened. A mortal, a space marine, had injured him. This is impossible. Why is your power actually, he faltered for the first time. Chaos gave him no breathing room. His twin axes whirled into a golden tornado and forced Lorgar back. Each step left deep prints in the metal deck. They were not equal in experience either. Chaos's relentless, focused assault kept the Primarch constantly on the defensive. Clang after clang numbed Lorgar's arms. In this tenfold state, the captain fought with strength rivaling a Primarch. Axis had recently fed the Legion the spirit tree fruit again, and Chaos, as Axis's foremost son, had been especially favored. A heavy blow split Lorgar's chestplate. Blood sprayed, and the mighty Primarch cried out. The word-bearers on the bridge stared in stunned silence. Their father, their great father, being driven back by a space marine? If he were bested by Axis himself, that might be understandable, but by one of his sons. Their belief cracked like ancient masonry. Fear crept into Lorgar's eyes. This Chaos, what manner of monster was he? With a roar, the Primarch tore open his chestplate to reveal skin inked with living runes. I will show you the true power of divine blessing, he bellowed. Dark warp energy erupted, turning the bridge into a storm of blood and flesh. Space warped, and a huge portal ripped open where Chaos and Lorgar had been fighting. A blood-red strike force poured through. Chaos space marines in butchered armor, butcher's nails hammered home, their leader wielding twin axes and eyes dead with frenzy. They were the World Eaters, and at their fore strode a figure identical to Chaos himself. The Chaos god chosen, Chaos. Is this 10,000 years ago? The two combatants froze and turned toward the newcomers, Chaos space marines in blood-red power armor who had suddenly appeared on the battlefield. Chaos stared in disbelief at the towering warrior before him. The armor was a model he had never seen, but it radiated a brutal, bloody aura and an unmistakable taint of chaos. Almost at the same moment, they both removed their helmets. Their faces were uncannily similar. The Chaos, in golden armor, emblazoned with the sigils of the Golden Legion, had blonde hair and a burning golden aura that flickered like flame. The other Chaos was monstrous by comparison. His features were harsher. Demon-like horns jutted from his skull. His eyes blazed blood red, and a huge butcher's nails implant crowned his head, trailing like a filthy whip. He looked utterly corrupted. "Who are you?" both of them asked at once. Lorgar, who had been grievously beaten and lying nearby, seized the moment to struggle up. He had been seconds from death beneath a two-axe-wielding assailant. Whoever had just arrived had at least interrupted the killing blow. If the fight had continued, Lorgar would have been cut down. It was humiliation enough that a gene-seed Primarch could have been toppled by a space marine. This interruption looked like divine intervention. Had the Chaos God sent a champion? Had Horus found some way to clone Axis's most powerful descendant? And why did this stranger bear the butcher's nails and such heavy demonic influence? False Emperor's dog, the red-armored Chaos spat. A conspiracy of the False Emperor. Did that rotting corpse on the Golden Throne clone me? No, you damned abomination, the Golden Chaos answered, voice roaring. You defile me. I am the Emperor's loyal warrior, my gene father's proudest son. I am of the Golden Legion. The red Chaos laughed, a wet, cruel sound. How quaint. Emperor's loyal warrior. I haven't heard that in a long time. And you accuse me of defiling you? Where is this place? Why have I been brought here? The red Chaos's presence made the Golden One uneasy. The other's aura was potent enough that for a fleeting second, the Golden Chaos wondered if this was some chosen champion of the Emperor, until the Red One's corruption became clear. Fury seized him. The recent battle with the Gene-Seed Primarch and the Spirit Tree Fruit Axis had given him days ago had left Chaos stronger than he had been in a long time. The fight with Lorgar and the sudden appearance of this traitorous double pushed him over the edge. His S-cells flared, the Saiyan-like rage gene activated, and the Golden Chaos pushed past his old limit. His 10x transformation shattered, and his power surged into a 12-vice state. Golden light erupted from him. The red Chaos unsheathed a massive power axe, the blade etched with corrupt runes, a chaos artifact, a gift from the gods of ruin. He howled, "Blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne." They crashed together. The force of the blow reverberated like a thunderclap. The red-armored chaos was hurled backward like a cannonball, smashing through bulkheads and tearing a hole through the ship's compartments. Even the Chaos Space Marines who had arrived with him gaped in stunned silence. Their lord, this red-armored champion, the supposed Lord Commander of the 12th, had been thrown aside in a single strike. Chaos, who was beloved by his battle brothers more than even Angron, had felled him. A silence of disbelief spread among the survivors. "You are a fraud," the Golden Chaos snarled as the Red One struggled up. "You couldn't even conjure the Golden Transformation. You're a broken imitation. Traitor, I will cut off your head." The Red Chaos staggered, eyes wide with shock and fury. "This is impossible. How can you possess such power? Has the false Emperor given it to you, his rotten corpse?" Chaos advanced, inspecting his foe. He could tell at a glance that the Red Chaos did not carry their Genefather's gene seed. "You don't have our gene seed at all. You're a creature made by chaos," he said. "Gene seed," the Red Chaos snapped, taking a step back. "What do you mean? Who is Axis? What is the Golden Legion?" Behind them, Lorgar, now on his feet and forced into the role of commentator, answered. "Axis is a gene seed Primarch modified by the Emperor. He wasn't born like the others. The Emperor altered a remarkable human, and from him the Golden Legion was forged. Angron became a traitor. Our warhounds were folded into the Golden Legion under Axis. You are the loyal sons of Axis, together the 12th, the Golden Knights." The Red Chaos's expression crumpled as the explanation sank in. Something about the words twisted him. Fury turned to bitter confusion. His life flashed. He had met Angron, been brutalized and nearly killed, watched company captains and hundreds of brothers fall. To secure the favor of that feral being, they had implanted butcher's nails into most of the Legion, turning many into rampaging madmen. The World Eater's history had been one of torment and neglect. Yet this version of himself, this Golden Chaos, had been beloved by his Genefather, had never received the nails, and had achieved a strength and honor the Red Chaos had never known. The golden aura around him was not the Emperor's light, but it was potent and pure in a way the Red Chaos could not accept. A ring of Golden Legion Marines closed around them. Where the word-bearers had stood, only wreckage and dying men remained. "Captain Chaos, who is this?" one of the Golden Legion's Marines asked, bewildered. "That is a conspiracy of the Chaos Gods," Chaos answered coldly. "Kharis?" The Red Chaos's head turned. He laughed again. "You are Kharis. How delightful." He gestured to a Chaos Marine at his side. The Marine removed his helmet. His face was a cruel mockery of Kharis's features, more bloodthirsty, more warped by daemon-craft. An impossible thing happened then. Men in the ranks on both sides began to discover doubles among their comrades. Here a veteran of the Warhounds saw his face reflected in a corrupted brother. There, a new recruit found a demon-faced mirror of himself. Most of the doppelgangers were from the Warhounds, but even some of the Golden Legion's new blood had counterparts. Confusion and the scent of treachery spread like wildfire. The battlefield, already wet with blood and smoke, had become a mirror world of itself, twinned, corrupted, and dangerous in ways none of them yet understood. The situation aboard the ship was a mess. Thousands of Chaos Space Marines had spilled into the corridors, and among them were hundreds of faces the Golden Legion knew all too well, twisted, fallen versions of themselves. Shouts of disbelief and fury filled the air. "Impossible! You damned traitors, agents of the Chaos Gods," someone roared. "Lies! You won't corrupt us. Despicable daemons, despicable gods." The Golden Legionnaires who faced their doppelgangers howled with rage. Like Khorne and I, each of them felt a sickening revulsion at the sight of a perverted reflection of themselves. Chaos, the Chaos God chosen, watched coldly. "We're the ones who should be asking questions," he muttered. "We arrived here for no reason, and found copies of ourselves. This clearly isn't our universe." If he could have beaten his loyal twin, he would have killed him without hesitation, but he could not. The loyal Golden Defenders were stronger, their weapons and bodies enhanced by an ability he had only seen once, a sudden golden transformation, chi erupting like living flame across the skin. One of those golden men had killed him in an instant a moment before. Lorgar pushed forward, between the lines, his word-bearers gathered behind him. "The Chaos Gods sent you to help me. We must get out. This plan has failed." Escape and rendezvous with Horus, he said bluntly. Khorne snorted coldly and looked him up and down. This Lorgar, like so many things here, did not inspire respect. Fallen traitors, you don't leave this ship. Your existence blasphemes the Golden Legion. I will end you, Khorne declared. Captain Khorne is right. You will die here, another captain agreed. Kaos smiled with feral amusement. It won't be so easy to kill me. I'm interested in your gene seed. Your golden transformation must come from it, yes? He had no intention of rescuing Horus. Chaos had chased power for 10,000 years. Chaos had followed Angron once before and been betrayed by the result. Here, finally, was a way to become stronger for himself. Chaos Space Marines took gene seeds from any source that promised power, traitor, loyalist, even something from another universe. If he could not defeat his counterpart, he could at least pick off fresh recruits and steal their gene seeds. Watching the formation of the Golden Legion, Chaos noticed how disciplined they were despite the shock. They held tight formations, disciplined and coordinated. He would not lead the assault himself. Instead, he would let the word-bearers take the point, while Chaos veterans worked the flanks. Chaos had no honor among comrades, only opportunity. "Prepare to break out," Chaos murmured, his blood-red eyes locked on his golden counterpart. A savage grin twisted his lips. He hurled a rune bomb, and a violet-black flash washed the cabin. Golden Legionnaires flicked on their phase shift devices, but a few recruits were caught slow. The word-bearers surged, and all sides tried to push through. "Now!" Chaos roared and charged the nearest new recruit. Chaos runes burned along his power axe. His target was obvious: the gene seed reservoirs at the base of the neck. He wanted Axis's gene seed above all. "Protect the recruits," Khorne bellowed. Golden Key flared, and he intercepted Chaos with blinding speed. Their power axes met in a storm of sparks. "You won't get him," Khorne shouted, driving Chaos back. The clash was brutal, but it was exactly what the Chaos veterans had counted on. While the Golden Legion's attention was fixed on the duel, dozens of seasoned Chaos warriors slipped away in small groups and surged toward the younger, less experienced Legionnaires. 10 millennia on a battlefield had honed their eyes. Veterans could spot a recruit at a glance. A golden recruit could transform 2 or 3 times and be strong, but lacked the hardened brutality of a veteran. Chaos men pounced. "For the great blood god, kill them!" a bone-spiked warrior howled as he leapt at a lone recruit. His chainsword spat death toward the boy's throat, but a golden flash ended him. Another recruit's phase shifter outpaced him, and a power sword drove clean through the Chaos man's chest. It should have been a simple victory for the Loyalists, but the Chaos veteran who fell grinned even as the blade pierced him. He grabbed the sword, split his own mouth open, and pulled something foul from within, something like a parasitic daemon. With a quick slash across the recruit's throat, he grabbed and ripped out the gene seed. "Kid, you'll learn. Chaos and warp things are friends. Warp daemons can hide inside us," the veteran croaked, laughing as he staggered back through the fighting with the prize in hand. The wounded Golden Legionnaire clutched his neck and staggered away. Other veterans hauled the man back into formation. The Legion apothecary worked fast, clamping a hemostatic device to the wound. Thanks to the fruit of the spirit tree, Axis's purple gene vitality was tenacious. A shallow neck wound was survivable unless the heart was pierced or the head severed. The Chaos warrior who had extracted the seed hustled back to Chaos and presented it. It was like nothing they'd seen, perfectly spherical, suffused with a faint golden sheen. A perfect gene seed. Beautiful. "Sacrifice a few hundred, and we'll all be champions," one Chaos Marine said dreamily. "No, this is a seed for the Gene Father himself. With one of those, the Chaos gods would crown us demon princes," another replied. Khorne sneered. "Dream on. You don't know what you're dealing with." He didn't have to explain to his men that Axis's gene seed was different. The Gene Father's blood was uniquely resistant to the warp. Its chi resisted demonic corruption. Without the Legion's special method of activating it, without chi, the transplant would kill any recipient outright. Chaos's grin faded. The Chaos strategy shifted to extraction. They did not need to capture the ship. Opening a warp rift and melting away was all it took. The entire cabin became a maelstrom. The word-bearers surged for the nearest transport pods under Lorgar's command, while Chaos forces fought a fighting retreat. the World Eaters falling back under their own traitor Khorne. Chaos Warriors sometimes self-detonated to create confusion. Golden Legionnaires formed pincer movements and ringed inwards, trying to cut off the fleeing pods. "Don't let them escape," Khorne barked. Amid the smoke and sparks, one golden flash turned every head. A man in the shape of a space marine, hair spiky and glowing gold, materialized before Chaos. Golden chi danced around him. "I'm very interested in you," he said coldly, eyes narrowed. "Since you're here, you're not leaving yet. Surrender, or I'll break every limb in you." It was Axis. The scene froze for a fraction of a heartbeat. Parallel universes, Chaos thought. This one kept getting stranger. The 4 minor captains Chaos had brought were more formidable than he'd expected. He tasted blood and opportunity at once, and the want to tear away with a prize warred with the sudden, dangerous presence before him. 253. Capture Lorgar and bring him back to Holy Terra for trial. Axis's sudden appearance stole the breath from the Chaos chosen, Khorne. Chaos. He could not understand how the man had appeared before him. There had been no psychic fluctuations. This was not a teleport. Axis hovered in the air, looking at the blood-drunk Chaos champion, and asked, "You are the Khorne from another world, aren't you? The Khorne from 10,000 years in the future?" The butcher's nails driven into his skull and the traces of Angron's gene seed in his flesh gave Chaos away. Axis had found the traitor's signature. A Chaos chosen of Khorne was something above even a demon prince, an honor bestowed only when a Chaos god truly favored you. Daemon princes could be made by sacrifice and ritual. Chosen were gifts from the gods themselves. Axis thought of Lucius, Slaanesch's chosen, returned from death whenever his patron willed it, proof of the absolute power behind such blessings. That a Chaos chosen like this one had been pulled into this era baffled him. Who are you?" Chaos stammered, face pale beneath the red sheen of his eyes. A deep primordial fear had crept into him the instant he had seen Axis. Every cell in his body trembled, his Chaos aura spasmed, as if in the presence of a natural predator. Axis smiled. "I am Axis. I am the Lord of the Golden Legion. I am Khorne's gene father." At that moment, most of the Golden Legion's sons had gathered. The sound of Axis's arrival had drawn them in, and one Primarch had tried to flee. Lorgar, the word-bearer, was making a desperate bid for escape. Axis let his gaze find the loyalist Khorne and gave him a casual wink. "There is no place to run when your gene father is watching." Khorne understood instantly. He snorted, contempt for his corrupted counterpart flashing in his eyes, and hefted his axes to pursue Lorgar. This was a prey personally assigned by the great gene father. Lorgar had to be brought down alive. Axis's presence was the cue. Khorne sprang after the word-bearer. As Khorne left, Axis changed. His form swelled until he towered over 3 meters tall. A golden-green aura erupted from him, and strands of green hair bristled into spikes. The power he carried now was almost physical, radiant, crushing, and it set itself like a vice on a single target, the Chaos Khorne. The Chaos Khorne froze. His body shivered, and his eyes widened with terror. He knew, with a certainty that made his limbs weak, that he could be killed. He could not match the being before him. Only one instinct remained, run. But he had no room to run. This was the end. "Die!" he roared, a blood-red tide of rage washing his armor. The butcher's nails in his skull screamed and unfurled like a dozen insectile limbs. He lashed out with his massive power axe. Axis didn't bother to dodge. He planted himself and let his aura rise. The air itself thickened with golden-green energy. The Chaos Khorne's axe stalled mid-swing, as if some invisible hand had frozen it. The weapon could move no further. "Is this all you've got?" Axis said coldly. "I'm disappointed. Khorne is my most excellent son. I prize him. I will train him myself, give him greater power, and make him stronger." He stepped forward 2 paces, and the stalled axe, and the Chaos Khorne holding it, were shoved back twice as far. The difference in force was humiliating. The Chaos Khorne redoubled his efforts, hacking and pushing, but all his strength was useless. Axis's aura alone denied him even the dignity of a strike. Humiliation turned to fury. The Chaos Khorne lashed with darker ferocity, but Axis merely raised a hand and shot twin beams of light that tore through the traitor's forearms. The axe clattered from his grip. Axis walked up, landed a single, precise blow, and the Chaos Chosen's head snapped back, knocked out cold. By then, the fight aboard the ship had been turned decisively. Axis's sons fell on the Chaos Space Marines and tore them apart. Though the invaders were veteran warriors, the Golden Legion's gene-seed offspring were warriors of the Great Crusade, sleeker, better-bodied, better trained. The boarding action ended with the Chaos forces almost entirely slaughtered. Only the Chaos Khan had been taken alive, personally apprehended by Axis. Meanwhile, in the ship's main cabin, the loyalist Khan, pushed into a 12 times golden transformation, was savagely pounding Lorgar. Even at 10 times, he had been strong enough to overwhelm this weakest of the Primarchs. At 12 times, Lorgar had no answer. Obeying Axis's instructions to capture him alive, Khan had discarded his power axes and fought with his fists, but for Lorgar, even bare hands were enough to shatter him. "Is that all you've got?" Khan taunted as he landed an uppercut that crushed Lorgar's jaw. Teeth and blackened blood spattered the cabin ceiling. The word-bearer flew through the chamber like a rag doll into the engine room. Lorgar's attempts to explain were cut off by blows. He tried to chant the words of a litany, I bear the true gods. But Khan's vice-like grip on his throat lifted him off the deck and ground the syllables from him with a flurry of fists. What remained of Lorgar was a heap of broken pride and bone. Once a Primarch of the Emperor, now he writhed and screamed as if he had nothing left to fight for. "Stop, please, no," he choked. "I am a Primarch. Stop." "You're a disgrace," Khan spat as he stamped down on one of Lorgar's hands. Bones cracked beneath boots. Wet, sickening crunches filled the air. "A wretch like you isn't fit to bear the name. You insult the Emperor. You insult all Primarchs." Lorgar's psychic armor and all the trappings of station peeled away under the assault. He could only scream and hold his shattered face as he was dragged, laughing and spitting, like a dead dog across the adamantium deck. When Khan finally flung him at Axis's feet, Lorgar, eyes swollen nearly shut, caught a last humiliating view. The Chaos Khan from a different timeline, once blessed by Khorne, now crumpled in the dust, his limbs broken by Axis. "The great Genefather," Khan said, kneeling on one knee before Axis, "I have captured this traitor alive." "Good," Axis replied, stepping his boot onto Lorgar's face. "Lorgar, you despicable traitor, I will personally escort you back to Holy Terra, hand you over to the Emperor for judgment, try you publicly, and execute you." Axis meant it. To kill Lorgar outright would have been easy. To bring him within Imperial law and make an example of him would be a spectacle that would rally the Imperium. Public trial and execution would break traitors' morale across the galaxy. None could claim sanctuary. Lorgar thrashed and spat. The idea of being paraded back to Terra, arraigned at the Emperor's courts, humiliated and sentenced in open view, was worse than death. His curses meant nothing. Khan seized him by the neck and hauled him aboard the Golden Legion's ship. By dawn, the traitor force that had invaded Nuceria was annihilated. The faction of Chaos Space Marines that had been summoned from a future line was smashed. Axis's Golden Legion had suffered fewer than 100 casualties. Victorious, Axis ordered his sons home. Nuceria's Golden Fortress held a brief celebration. Banners were raised, and the warriors shouted the names of Axis and the Emperor, rejoicing the crushing of Lorgar's conspiracy and the defeat of the Chaos invaders from another timeline. But Axis did not join the revelry. He stood with Kasha in the deepest vault of the fortress, in the cold, windowless interrogation chamber, watching the Chaos Khan bound in adamantium bonds. This Khan was a broken thing. Axis, limbs and pride were ruptured. He could not even raise his head. "It's unbelievable, Axis," Kasha said softly. "You actually captured a Khan from another timeline." Possibilities flickered through the chamber. Information about the future could be priceless. Axis nodded once. "We'll interrogate him. We can get news from the future if we're cautious." He stepped forward and slapped the Chaos Khan sharply across the face. The crack of the blow echoed in the dark room. "Now," Axis said, voice low and hard, "let's talk." The Chaos Khan lifted his head. His eyes glowed with hatred, but beneath that was a raw, unavoidable mix of fear and something like longing. What do you want from me?" he rasped. Axis smiled, narrowed his eyes, and asked, "How did you end up in this era? Who sent you?" Chaos Khan grinned, baring a mouthful of serrated teeth, and regarded Axis with mockery. "The great blood god sent me. Khorne himself granted me the power to travel time and space, to hunt down blasphemers. And your blood will be offered to the blood god, your head placed on the brass throne. You're lying. Axis's tone was flat. He raised a hand, and an invisible force seized Chaos Khan by the throat, lifting him clear off the ground. Don't waste my time. Khorne would not casually grant mortals time travel. Unless... His gaze sharpened like a blade. Someone guided you here. The Chaos Gods could, according to lore, reach across timelines. Their presences span multiverses, past, present, and future. But if Khan had truly been dispatched by them, it made no sense that he would appear before Axis to accomplish nothing but vanity and a threat. It felt accidental. He had no clear orders from the Blood God. "Haha, kill me! How ridiculous!" Chaos Khan laughed, defiant. "The great Blood God protects me. I cannot die. No one in this universe can kill me. As a Chaos chosen, favored above ordinary champions, and often more secure than a demon prince, he believed his soul was partly anchored to the Blood God on the brass throne. Even if his body were destroyed, a shard of his spirit remained with Khorne, who could remake him. The Chaos Gods transcended time, space, and matter. In another universe, the Blood God was still the same Blood God. "You cannot be killed?" Kasha stepped forward, voice like steel. "I am the Emperor's daughter, the Imperial Princess. Answer our questions honestly, and perhaps your end will be merciful. Otherwise, I possess my father's holy psychic power. Do you think I cannot kill you?" She slammed her staff down. A golden psychic radiance flared from her. The power, an inheritance of the Emperor, could rend a Chaos Chosen's material form apart, if not annihilate the portion of his soul that clung to the Blood God. Khan's face flickered with alarm. The Emperor's power here was weaker than the Emperor he knew, but it was real and potent. Even if true death might remain impossible, grievous damage and the destruction of his material anchor would be a crippling blow. He considered his options and, curiosity winning out, chose to parley. This world was strange. This timeline felt like the Great Crusade era. "To be honest," he said, voice curled with scorn, "I don't know how I got here. Do you believe me?" Khan wasn't lying. He genuinely didn't know. Perhaps Khorne had flung him across time without an explicit mission. The psychic signature from the woman calling herself the Imperial Princess was unmistakably the Emperor's, but far from the same magnitude he had expected. Axis pressed on. "Then tell me, what era are you from? You must be from the future. Do you know what becomes of the great heresy?" "That's not something I keep secret," Khan sneered. "I'm from 10,000 years in the future. I am a Chaos Chosen. In my age, the 12th Legion has defected to the Chaos Gods, freed from the false Emperor. We are the World Eaters, serving the Blood God." Kasha snorted in disbelief, the staff glowing in her fist. "You're lying. Even if you're a chosen of chaos, you are not of Axis's gene seed. Your gene seed is wrong. Axis would never betray my father." "Never said I was born of Axis's gene seed," Khan shot back. "In the Imperium I come from, neither of you exist. Imperial Princess, second Primarch Axis. I've never heard of you." He let that hang with a smile. Fascinating. This past was unfamiliar. Different gene seeds, different Primarchs. He wanted to see what reaction the idea of a ruined future would provoke. Axis was calm, but Kasha's face drained. She could not fathom a timeline in which she and Axis did not exist. "You mean the 12th Legion's gene father in your era wasn't Axis?" she asked, voice small. "Correct. You and Axis do not exist. In my history, the 12th Legion was the Warhounds, later renamed the World Eaters when Angron returned. Our gene father was Angron." The revelation made Kasha glance at Axis with sudden nervousness. The absence of their names in another future was deeply disorienting. "Parallel universes can diverge," Axis said quietly. "Tell me then, what happened to the 2nd and 11th Primarchs in your age? Which Primarchs betrayed the Emperor? You should know that." Khan recited with theatrical relish. "Horus, Fulgrim, Angron, Mortarion, Lorgar, Alfarius, Conrad, Perturabo, and Magnus betrayed. As for your 2nd and 11th Primarchs, they were entirely erased by the Emperor during the Raiden War. Those two legions do not exist." Axis absorbed the news without outward change. "So it's different there. Perturabo and Magnus haven't betrayed here, and two Primarchs who should have been erased are nevertheless present. We altered the usual pattern. The 12th is different too." Kasha nodded slowly, understanding at last why Axis had been so wary of Perturabo and Karl. In another world, Perturabo had indeed betrayed. "Tell me," she interjected, voice tight, "what was the outcome of the Great Heresy? Did we win? Did Horus die? Khan's grin deepened. Horus did not win, nor did the Emperor. The Emperor will become neither wholly living nor truly dead, forever trapped upon the golden throne. No, Kasha's protest was a physical thing. Having seen the Emperor in battle paired with Axis, she could not believe the man she knew could be reduced to a dying machine on a throne. I'm not lying. Khan's tone grew cold. Horus and the Emperor end in mutual destruction. We can change that, Kasha snapped angrily. We can alter fate. Father's end can be different. Khan laughed, a sound edged in contempt. Do you think you can fight fate? Change the future? Everything you do is futile. The Emperor will be forced to sit on the golden throne, a rotting corpse, what you call the corpse emperor, and the galaxy will decay. The Imperium of man becomes the very thing you dread, a rotten, dying empire. Humanity has no future but that putrescence. You are pawns. The future Imperium is endless failure and war. Only the Chaos Gods bring salvation. He expected Axis to crumble, to rage. Axis showed none of that. He was composed, almost bored. Kasha, however, was pale and trembling. The image Khan painted, the Emperor trapped forever on the golden throne, struck her like a blow. In that great heresy, she demanded, power flaring around her, what became of the loyal Primarchs? Tell us everything. Khan's laugh turned colder still. As the new War Master will declare, the age of the Primarchs is over. All the gene-seeded Primarchs will leave the Imperium, abandon the Emperor, and in the end, only that rotting throne will remain. Chaos Khan's chilling laughter rolled through the chamber. Kasha felt a sudden chill creep through her fingers and toes. In the vision the traitor had described, all the gene-seed Primarchs had vanished. What had happened? Could it be that in that future, the Primarchs would stand Horus down to a draw, or die with him? No, that future did not include Axis or her. The number of traitor Primarchs didn't match either. Her world would not be dragged into that cold, dark fate. What Axis had described was the history of another universe. In her own universe, she and Axis still existed. Magnus and Perturabo had not betrayed the Emperor. Perhaps, she thought, it was possible, but she would not let scum like this corrupt her era. Axis's golden aura flared. He raised a hand and condensed a blinding mote of light in his palm. He had decided to end this chaos chosen here and now. Last chance, he said, voice flat. Who sent you? My patience is thin. I would rather destroy you than let you live. Madness danced in Chaos's eyes. He thrashed, the butcher's nails in his skull spiking erratically. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the brass throne, he screamed, laughing with a warped joy. Do it. Kill me. Death did not frighten him. If Axis cut him down, rather than Kasha did, so much the better. A fragment of his soul was preserved on the brass throne. Only the far future might hold someone who could truly end him. Axis exhaled, ready to strike. He had learned more than he had wanted about the invader. But the one thing he most wanted to find, the mastermind behind this incursion, remained hidden. The prisoner had little more to offer. Wait, Kasha said, stepping between them. He's important. Bring him back to Holy Terra. Father-in-law or Macario can take him from there. Information from 10,000 years ahead could not be dismissed. The rest of that future might be wrong, but this stranger had still come from beyond time and claimed the Primarchs would betray the Emperor. For now, Axis agreed to confinement rather than execution. All right, he said. We'll detain him, but we'll need to take turns guarding him. A Chaos Chosen is not a thing you leave lying about. If he gets any freedom, he could wreak terrible havoc. The danger was real. The warp rot that clung to the Chaos Chosen would taint ordinary mortals who stood near him, twist and corrupt them into warp spawn. Psykers could collapse under the strain and become living rifts. Even space marines risked contamination. Kasha, Axis, and the frontline fighter Mater were the only ones among them likely to resist that corruption. Chaos's own gene seed, Khans, might be a bulwark too, but two guardians were wiser than one. Understood, Kasha said. And Lorgar can't be taken lightly either. We should finish here and take both of them to Holy Terra. We still need to make a detour to Macragge. Don't you want to see your son? Axis asked. Not now, Kasha replied. This is urgent. The Horus heresy is the priority. Our son will understand. With that decided, Axis felt the journey could wait. The Dawn Star and the Eldar Webway could make the round trip in less than a month. The more pressing question gnawed at him. What was Horus doing now? Would the siege of Terra of which the prisoner had spoken really befall them? With Axis in play, did Horus even have the will to strike at Terra? I'll put a psychic dampener on him, Kasha said. She raised her psychic staff and called a ward, isolating the chaos chosen from the surrounding ether and quelling the spread of warp energy from his body. You rest, Axis told her. I'll keep watch. I'm fine. Don't you want to interrogate Lorgar yourself? There may be something to learn about Horus, Kasha asked. No, Axis cut her off. Interrogation isn't our role. That's Macario's work. He disliked Lorgar's fanaticism. He feared he would lose his temper and do more than bargain for information. Kasha nodded and withdrew to the adjacent sleeping chamber. Axis seated himself where he could close his mind and reach outward. He needed to speak to the Emperor. He had to tell him that a chaos chosen of Khorne, chaos, had broken through from another universe. Axis's consciousness sank into the warp and found the Emperor, a beacon on the Golden Throne. Two titanic psychers, Emperor and Magnus, burned like lighthouses in that dark sea. Is that you, Axis? The Emperor asked. How go things? Lorgar is in custody, Axis answered. I will escort him to Holy Terra to face Imperial justice. He should be tried in public. Good, Magnus said immediately. Executing a traitor Primarch now would restore a great deal of confidence. This is a golden opportunity. We are rebuilding the webway and opening communications by degrees. Demonstrating the punishment of traitors will help steady the Imperium. Axis hesitated, then told them of the sudden warp rift, of the guests who had stepped through from 10,000 years hence. They came from 10,000 years in the future, he said. One is a chaos chosen, Chaos, and he told me things. He told me this, Axis went on. In his telling, you, father-in-law, will sit upon the golden throne for all time, neither living nor dead. You will be trapped there, a rotting corpse. Silence fell. Magnus's voice trembled. How is that possible? Are you sure? I would never betray the Emperor. Calm yourself, Magnus. The Emperor's tone was sorrowful. Perturabo's place is the same as yours in that account, if I recall. Horus intended to use you to destroy the webway. Axis's intervention likely prevented it. Had Axis not come, you might have been turned by chaos. If you had been corrupted, you could have been used to dislodge our hold on Holy Terra, freeing Horus's hand to deal with the rebels. The webway was damaged, but your power, combined with mine through the Golden Throne, could repair it. You are not irretrievably lost. But the throne, this fate you described, Axis pressed. It's not just about betrayals. According to him, your role is fixed. You will sit on the Golden Throne forever. This is my destiny, the Emperor said softly. No matter what, I will sit upon the Golden Throne. It is my fate. There was neither pride nor triumph in his voice, only resignation. The Emperor felt the weight of something greater than even he, a dark king, a shaping force that had written much of what now played out. The thought sickened him. Without that dark tether, he might have been no more than a mortal. Instead, he had been made into something vast and bound. The Dark King, it seemed, had his own script, and all of them were actors within it. The Emperor despised the idea, but without that power, without that bargain, the future might be ruined worse than any throne. I will bring both Lorgar and this chaos chosen to Holy Terra, the Emperor decided. They will be dealt with there. Thank you, Axis, the Emperor added. Axis hesitated before his final word. Father-in-law, sometimes the so-called destiny can be held in one's own hands, he said. The message hung between them like a spark in the dark, stubborn and unvanquished. 256. Executing the Ascension Plan. Emperor of the Second Empire, can one control their own fate? The Lord of Mankind let out a bitter laugh. What audacity, what proud confidence. He was not surprised to hear it from Axis. Axis had been missing for 100 years, but time in the warp flowed differently. In truth, Axis was not even 200 years old. He was still young. When he was young, he had the same impulses. When he was 20 or 30,000 years old, he had believed he could bend fate. Back then, he had the vigor to defeat the Void Dragon, a fragment of a most powerful star god, and seal it in the eternal night labyrinth of Mars. In humanity's golden age, he had joined the Golden Man, entered the warp, and deceived the four Chaos Gods, extracting forbidden technological knowledge from them, stealing the materials to create the gene seed Primarchs, then turning on them. But reality's cruelty had a way of humbling even the most confident. Could an ordinary citizen of the Imperium truly control his destiny? Even he, the Lord of Mankind, had been toyed with by fate. The Dark King had acted behind his back, and lately the Emperor had felt a deep helplessness. The Dark King's plan was nearing its culmination. Even if Axis could alter some threads of fate, the Emperor himself remained trapped upon the Golden Throne. If he left, the Webway project would fail. Magnus and he not only had to repair the Webway, they had to use psychic power to build a mighty barrier against warp demons and keep the Astronomicon burning. They were desperately busy. 1,000 Psykers' souls had to be burned every day. All of it had a mastermind behind it. The Chaos Space Marine who had come from a parallel universe was likely the Dark King's warning. The Dark King could awaken at will and move into the real universe. This temporal intruder was not aimed at Axis, it was aimed at the Emperor. "I understand, Axis. Thank you for your encouragement," the Lord of Mankind said with a smile, though a trace of sorrow lurked beneath it. "Lord of Mankind, when my strength is enough, I will defeat the Dark King. I will prove that fate can be broken," Axis answered. Saiyan by nature did not believe in fate. He never had, and he would not now. "You are confident, Axis," the Emperor replied. "To conquer the Dark King, you must possess power comparable to a god. Only an existence on the same level could contend with warp demons and dare to challenge the Dark King." Axis was powerful, but still far from that mark. Magnus, listening, tilted his head and glanced at the Emperor. If his apotheosis plan succeeded, he could help his father. They might both break that so-called fate. "Father," Magnus said, "Axis and I have had a secret plan all along. If it works, I cannot promise I'll best the 4 Chaos Gods, but it will drastically increase my strength and help you. If other brothers are willing to use the method, they'll see massive gains too. It's good for the whole Imperium." "Magnus, what plan? How can you improve the strength of the Gene Seed Primarchs?" the Emperor asked. The bodies of the Gene Seed Primarchs had been designed from the Emperor's genetic blueprint, blended with Erda and the best human augmentation methods. Physically, they were unmatched, but Magnus had something else in mind. "It's Axis's spirit tree fruit," Magnus said. "It can increase a Gene Seed Primarch's power." "That only boosts life energy," the Emperor said, shaking his head. "It will enhance physical attributes greatly, but it won't cause a true qualitative change." "No, Father, it's not like that." Magnus explained his apotheosis plan fully. "We use the spirit tree fruit to strengthen my soul, and at the same time raise my body, bring body and soul into balance so they can match a divine body. Axis will use his key to bind them, allowing the final metamorphosis." Hearing Magnus out, the Emperor's expression changed. The Gene Seed Primarchs were gods in the warp, born from fragments of divinities the Emperor had woven since antiquity. Their status rivaled the Eldar gods. Even with the best methods, their bodies remained imperfect. Their souls, though godlike shards, were not whole gods. But Magnus's plan had a high chance of success. If it worked, Magnus's strength would spike tremendously. The Emperor judged he might even stand second only to the 4 Chaos Gods, able to traverse back and forth between the material universe and the warp, wielding influence far beyond ordinary warp powers. Normally, warp gods chose agents to act in the material realm. Even the Dark King had to select an avatar to walk the real universe. This plan could produce a being capable of doing so on humanity's side. "It's fantastical," the Emperor said, "but feasible. How many spirit tree fruits do you need?" 8. 8 spirit tree fruits," Magnus answered. "After that, I'll need Axis's key to fuse body and soul. Only then will the final mutation complete." 8 fruits meant 8 planets. The Emperor nodded. "The Imperium could afford 8 planets, indeed dozens if necessary. We can proceed. Axis, I will send you coordinates for 8 worlds. I'll have Micardo select them, planets that have fallen to Horus, corrupted by chaos. After the war, these worlds would face exterminatus anyway. Better to let you plant the mental trees there." They would start with the homeworlds of the traitor Primarchs and other planets the Imperium had already declared traitor, likely more than 8. Axis agreed. "No problem. 1 planet can yield hundreds of spirit tree fruits. With luck and strong planetary vitality, the fruit quality will be even better." Axis was eager. It was a good chance. At present, the necessary conditions for full apotheosis applied only to Leman Russ, Sanguinius, and Lionel Johnson, Others had eaten spirit tree fruit, but not undergone ki fusion to bind body and soul. Axis's ki was essential for the final fusion. If the plan succeeded, he might even gain some of Magnus's divine power. "Then let us act," the Emperor said. If he had not been trapped upon the golden throne and had not seen the darker futures, he might never have allowed the Primarchs a path to full ascension. But experience taught him not to rely on a single hope. He needed backups, 2 or even 3. If Axis failed, there needed to be contingency. Magnus was insurance. Leman Russ, Lionel Johnson, and Sanguinius could also be made insurance. If they achieved apotheosis, the Imperium would have 4 godlike defenders. If it came to everything, the Emperor would sacrifice even his soul to hold back the Dark King, and if he fell, humanity would still have Axis and those 4 gods to protect it. "I'll plant the mental trees first," Axis said. "I'll take the 2 captives aboard my ship while I tend the trees. After planting, I'll return to Terra and begin Magnus's apotheosis." "If Magnus succeeds," the Emperor replied, "the other 3 gene seed Primarchs who have taken your reinforcement will be included, Rogol Dorn and Guilliman to be considered later." He would continue to assess his sons. He knew them. Chogoris's loyalties were complicated. Had Horus not fallen, Leman Russ might have sided differently in the heresy. Perturabo of the Iron Warriors and the second Primarch Karl would need further scrutiny. Axis agreed. After they discussed details, the Emperor severed the link. He summoned Chancellor Micardo and personally selected 8 heavily populated, chaos-corrupted planets for Axis's mental trees. Meanwhile, on Makraj, events moved in another direction. Guilliman had received news of the Great Heresy, and Holy Terra had fallen silent. No contact could be re-established. Guilliman made the worst assumption, that the Lord of Mankind was dead. Makraj might be humanity's last ember. Axis's son and Sanguinius had also arrived with their fleets. Guilliman proposed a drastic solution, to found a second empire of man. After much argument, Guilliman persuaded the others to join him in establishing the Second Empire. But disagreement arose. Who should lead it? Who should be emperor of this new Imperium? With Makraj as the core, "Guilliman, you want to become the new Lord of Mankind, don't you?" Sanguinius asked. "No," Guilliman said. "I will not be the ruler. I will act as the political director, manage the internal affairs of the Second Empire. You, Sanguinius, would be the military director, perhaps its regent." A tall man, 2 meters 3, whose features were 8/10 like Axis's, spoke up. "Uncle Guilliman, I believe in your ability. If Grandfather is truly gone, someone needs to take charge and lead humanity forward. Someone like you." Sanguinius nodded. Guilliman shook his head firmly. "No, the Emperor of the Second Empire will not be me. He will be my nephew, your son, Axis's true blood. He is the Lord of Mankind's legitimate descendant, born of the Emperor's daughter. If anyone has the rightful claim to inherit the Imperium, it is him. He has inherited everything: strength and a body comparable to a gene seed Primarch, and a lifespan longer than ours. If there must be a leader to continue humanity's line, it should be him, not me." Even if Axis's son did not exist, Guilliman said he would still have nominated him rather than seize the position himself. To take that throne personally would be a betrayal, a second great heresy. "How could this be? How could I become emperor of the Second Empire?" the young man protested. "Guilliman and I will stand with you," Sanguinius said, clasping the young man's shoulder. "We will help you defeat Horus and avenge the Lord of Mankind." So the plan formed. The true bloodline of the Lord of Mankind, the son of Axis, would inherit the Second Empire. To Guilliman and Sanguinius, this felt right. The gene seed Primarchs were of the Emperor's blood, but this was different. This was direct lineage, a living continuation of the Emperor's line, and for the survivors, a rallying point around which humanity might endure. The son of Axis stared into the steady eyes of his 2 Primarch uncles, his Adam's apple bobbing with a nervous swallow. He felt strangely lost. He had not expected such open support for his claim to lead a new Imperium. He had never imagined he would stand at such a crossroads, his father missing for a century, his mother in a coma, his grandfather's fate unknown, and suddenly the weight of human civilization pressed down on his shoulders. He was not yet 100 years old. He had been waiting for his mother to wake and name him. "I don't even have a proper name," he said with a crooked smile, fingers brushing the golden filaments that traced his brow. the mark of the Emperor's bloodline. The Emperor calls me grandson. Macardo calls me Your Highness. The Legionnaires whisper that I am the true golden bloodline, the strongest son of Axis. But I never thought I'd inherit the Imperium. My grandfather is immortal. He needs no heir. He exhaled. Who could have guessed that a simple departure from his homeworld would coincide with such a cataclysm? Horus, so trusted by the Emperor, so beloved by the other gene-seed Primarchs, even by him, had sparked the Great Heresy. So many Primarchs had followed him into rebellion. News of the betrayal had come on a single unexpected ship. At first, Guilliman, sanguineous, and he had all thought it impossible. A name is never the point, Guilliman said, opening a hollow star chart. The Ultramar 500 worlds flashed blue under his touch. What matters is the responsibility in your blood. Your claim is legitimate. Your psychic talent is second only to Magnus, not far behind your mother's. Guilliman is right, St. Giles added. We will be your right hands. We will help you defeat Horus. And based on our estimates, Holy Terra is likely in rebel hands. Your mother may be in grave danger. Perhaps you should give yourself a name. Kratos, he had finally taken the name to himself, had chosen to wait for his parents and to be named by them. But the moment demanded an answer. But Uncle Guilliman, Uncle St. Giles, how do we even navigate the warp? The warp is storming. Even if Ultramar survives, how do we keep the worlds connected? We can't found an empire that only holds Macragge. I thought of that, Guilliman replied. During the Great Crusade, I recovered a very unusual artifact. With some adjustments, it can function like a lighthouse, an astronomicon of sorts. Erect one of those and you can pierce the warp, give Imperial vessels a guide. At least for the Ultramar 500 worlds and a few hundred light years beyond, we can carve out a safe region. Guilliman had secured the device long before the heresy. It was not a human relic, but an alien machine, a truth he could not speak aloud now. St. Giles understood why Guilliman proposed founding a second Imperium. Paired with the Emperor's bloodline, the artifact would give legitimacy and navigational power. Soon I will declare your identity to the rest of the sector, Guilliman went on. You and I were both raised by Miss Yudun. You received Macrage's training. I believe you can be a great leader. I will stand with you. Kratos drew a long breath and let the weight settle in his chest. If someone must stand, then I will. I will shoulder the burden of my grandfather and my father. Then prepare the nation, Guilliman said. We will light the Pharos, the lighthouse of the Second Empire, and found the Second Imperium of Man with Macragge and the Ultramar 500 worlds at its center. Under the two Primarchs' direction, the work moved fast. In 3 months, the Pharos system was ignited. A cold, silver light burst from Macragge and streamed through the Imperium, carving a shaft of navigation through the storms. The light burned like a second astronomicon. For vessels and psychers within its reach, it became a beacon. Its brilliance did not go unnoticed. The lighthouse drew not only Imperial ships and worlds into contact with Macragge, but also hungry things from beyond the galaxy, beings that felt the beacon as a feast. Still more alarming, the light attracted the attention of the Emperor and Magnus. Where before the warp's malign attention had masked Macragge, the new beacon fixed its position. Powerful psychers, even across tens of thousands of light years, could now trace the source. Axis had been busy while the beacon was prepared. He had planted spirit tree fruits on 4 planets. 3,000 of the fruits rode aboard his ship. At his command, Kasha was already using those fruits to augment herself. Axis, the Emperor said, reaching out with a psychic voice. I have found Macragge. A lighthouse burns there, the Pharos you spoke of. It is potent. That's good, Axis replied. Macragge is not far. Kasha can see the light. She will steer us in. The great battleship Morning Star readied to move. Axis intended to see his son. The ship left with 2 captives and a full complement. 130,000 of Axis's gene-seed offspring aboard, troops primed to become space marines, and only a few thousand defenders left on his homeworld. Along the way, Axis authorized surgical augmentation of reserve recruits, installing black carapaces and beginning the painful rite of becoming legionaries. Kasha, rapt with excitement, took navigation, guiding the Morning Star toward Macragge under the silver beam. Far off, the White Scar's fleet, lost in the warp for months, sensed the same light. Chagatai Khan perceived the beacon and understood at once what it meant. Khan, a captain breathed. That white light in the warp, that must be the Pharos. Order all fleets to make best speed toward that light, Chagatai ordered. We must seize it and bring its power back to Holy Terra. The Khan believed that combining the Pharos with Imperial might would turn the tide. After so long adrift, the White Scars finally had a way out. They altered course for Macragge at once. Within Macragge, Guilliman began broadcasting the truth of the Horus heresy to every contactable world and announcing the imminent creation of the Second Empire. The day the Second Imperium was to be proclaimed, on the day Kratos would be crowned, an enormous warp fluctuation roared through the sky. A celestial-sized battleship loomed into being above Macragge. The Morning Star had arrived. When the Morning Star's ship drifted over Macragge like a small moon and blotted out the sun, every air defense alarm on the planet screamed to life. No one could tell at once whether the colossal vessel was friend or foe. It bore a large aquila, which suggested it shouldn't be an enemy. Still, only 3 men in the crowd looked truly grave: Guilliman, Kratos, the son of Axis, and Sanguinius. Kratos' expression was the most conflicted. He knew that the Morning Star was his father's flagship. As the son of Axis, he had limited access to it. The Morning Star had even lent its power to forge him a Celestial-class battleship, but that vessel had always been only a pale replica. Its systems, its machine spirit, its true capabilities were nowhere near those of the Morning Star. Now that the real ship was here, it could mean only one thing: Axis himself had returned. Whoever commanded that warship, it wasn't the Emperor. Only Axis had that authority. This is the Morning Star? How is that possible? How could it be deployed? Kratos blurted, shock plain on his face. Guilliman fought to hide his frustration. The timing was infuriating. Of all days to arrive, of all moments, Axis had to show up on the very day Guilliman had proclaimed the Second Empire. Guilliman's pride stung. He could almost hear the murmurs of betrayal. If the worst suspicion proved true, history would call it treason. Lord Regent, shall we open fire? An Ultramarines captain asked at Guilliman's side. Stand down. It's not an enemy, it's the Golden Legion, Guilliman said, then moved to the communications array and pinged the planetary channel. Axis, is that you? Have you returned to the Imperium? He had never met Axis in person. They had traded only a few psychic messages. Axis's reply came through the holo projection, a large, weathered man with laughing eyes, and behind him a woman with a mane of golden hair. My son is going to be emperor? I had to come celebrate, didn't I, Guilliman? You actually established the Second Empire? Axis sounded more amused than solemn. Kasha, Axis said warmly, turning the camera. The woman's face lit with excitement. Let me see where my son is. This, father and mother, Kratos stammered. You both actually returned. That is wonderful. But please, let me explain. This Second Empire is not what you imagine. We have not betrayed grandfather. Axis cut him off with delighted impatience. My son, father is here. I have already chosen your name, Kratos. I named you myself. Thank you for the name, father. I like it, Kratos said, but immediately tried to return to the matter at hand. Now is not the time for celebration. Father, mother, Uncle Sanguinius, and I are all loyal to grandfather. We have no intention of betraying him. We established the Second Empire to preserve the last embers of humanity. Axis raised a hand. Don't worry, I know. The Emperor knows as well. He does not blame you. What you did was to preserve the Imperium of Man. That said, the Second Empire can be dissolved if necessary. His voice was calm and almost amused. Guilliman felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Axis knew the truth, and the situation eased at once. Axis, how is father? How is Holy Terra? Guilliman asked, the question burning in his chest. We can't speak of that over a public channel, Axis said. Kasha and I will land and tell you in person. He nodded to Kratos, Guilliman, and Sanguinius, then cut the link. Taking an impatient Kasha with him, Axis boarded a small landing craft and began his descent to Macragge. Kasha was visibly nervous and thrilled. This was her first meeting with the son she had borne. People in the plaza who had come for Guilliman's enthronement were shepherded away while the unexpected reunion took place. The crowd, having come to witness one coronation, watched instead as 3 strangers descended and a private family meeting unfolded. Many went home bewildered, but loyal Macragge citizens knew where their true allegiance lay. Guilliman's place in their hearts was not easily displaced. When the ramp lowered, Kratos ran forward, only to be swept into his mother's arms. "Mother," he said shyly, then hugged her again. He had meant to embrace his father first, but Kasha moved faster. "When I lay comatose, I felt an incredibly familiar power," Kasha said, smiling and clutching him. "One belonged to your father, and the other I couldn't name, until now." Axis approached and embraced them both. His son was roughly half a head taller than him. With an effortless glow, Axis expanded himself into a form more fitting to his station, over 3 meters tall, an imposing presence. "Father, mother," Kratos choked, tears in his eyes. "I can hardly believe this is real. I have dreamed of this reunion 100 times." "I know the feeling," Axis replied. "When I first learned of you, I was surprised. Truth be told, I didn't want to be a godfather to that fool Guilliman." He looked to Guilliman with a teasing grin. "Ahem," Guilliman muttered, uncomfortable. "Some things are better left unsaid, Axis, and I don't want you as an adoptive father." Kratos frowned. The idea of Guilliman somehow becoming his father's ward, of awkward family ties, made him shiver. "Father, don't say that. Ms. Udun was very kind to me. She accompanied me through my childhood." Axis laughed. "Then you must visit your adoptive mother. I will give her a gift, one of the spirit tree fruits. That will lengthen her life. She'll be a different sort of immortal." After the brief, awkward laughter, Guilliman guided Axis and Kasha into the Macragge fortress with Sanguinius at his side. They set aside the family nostalgia and moved quickly to the more urgent matter. "Axis," Sanguinius asked, voice tight with worry, "tell us everything about Holy Terra and Horus. Why did he turn against the Emperor? Why the great heresy?" Axis's face darkened. "Horus betrayed the Emperor. He was corrupted by chaos. He turned and seduced other Primarchs to his cause. Fulgrim, Mortarion, Alfarius, Lorgar, Conrad. Rebellion spread. Battles flared on Istvan III and Istvan Feth. The Salamanders, Raven Guard, and Iron Hands were crippled. If the other legions had been able to return in time, the rebellion could have been contained, but Horus's treachery was swift and well-rooted." Guilliman could barely conceal his incredulity. Horus, corrupted by chaos, unthinkable. Axis continued, more quietly, "Before all this erupted on Istvan Feth, I sent Chagatai Khan ahead, about 6 months before I came. Has he reached you?" "Chogoris?" Guilliman answered. "I haven't seen him. Perhaps he's still lost in the warp." Guilliman shook his head. Chagatai Khan had never been to the 500 worlds of Ultramar, not once, not even near them. He would have been reported the instant he stepped to any nearby system. He would not quietly lead some attempted Second Empire and then humiliate himself by failing to appear. "Father," Guilliman said, "we have received no reports of Imperial vessels entering the Ultramar system." "There's even less news of Chagatai Khan," Kratos added. Sanguinius, standing nearby, inclined his head in agreement. "Kasha, try to find them in the warp with your gifts. If you can locate them, draw them here." Axis looked at his wife. "Do it." Kasha folded her legs and sat on the ground, the smile at seeing her son set aside. She plunged her mind into the warp and began to search for the White Scar's fleet. While Kasha probed the Imperium, Axis continued talking with Guilliman and Sanguinius. He laid out the Imperium's current state, who had risen in rebellion, which legions had been crippled. He described the slaughter on Istvan III and Planet 5, where Loyalist forces had taken terrible losses and 3 legions had been put out of action. He explained that Lion L. Johnson, Leman Russ, the Iron Warriors, and the Sons of Tomorrow were now holding the line against the Raidan. "That's brutal," Sanguinius said quietly. "I never expected Horus and Fulgrim to turn on the Emperor." Horus had been the Emperor's favored son and the War Master. Fulgrim had been raised almost as high. Only the recent rise of Kratos had brought a new face before the Emperor's attention. Still, Horus commanded the crusade after the Emperor's return to Terra. "I'll cut down those traitors with my own hands," Kratos promised. "Axis," Guilliman asked, "did you send Chagatai Khan to bring our 3 legions to Holy Terra?" "No, I sent Chagatai Khan to take control of the Pharos system, the second beacon, a counterpart to the Imperial Astronomicon. You know how violent the warp storms have grown. The Emperor and Magnus must share the Golden Throne's burden to keep communications running, And even so, the Astronomicon now reaches less than a tenth of Imperial space. It barely suffices for a handful of regions. If the Pharos system can be integrated, it will help our beacon push through the storms, open new, safer warp corridors so Imperial ships can travel and communicate. Guilliman nodded. I understand. I'll order the Pharos system dismantled immediately and all its schematics and data brought to Holy Terra. Anything that can help the Imperium must be used. Axis fixed his gaze on them. Guilliman, Sanguinius, where do your loyalties lie now? With the Emperor and the Imperium. Both of them bristled at the question. In the original timeline, Guilliman and Sanguinius had remained loyal. Sanguinius had even died at Horus's hand. There were other histories where loyalties had split differently. Axis had come to suspect he was living in a parallel thread of the galaxy after encountering a being from the original timeline. He needed to be certain. Axis, you doubt our loyalty? Guilliman's tone was flat. I will disband the Second Empire at once. I will go to Holy Terra and beg the Emperor's pardon for this folly. Whatever punishment is meted out, I will accept it. Please believe in my fidelity. I will do the same, Sanguinius said. I swear, I am loyal to the Emperor and the Imperium. I would die for mankind. Axis raised a hand. There have been too many heresies. I must know the attitude of every Primarch and their gene seed. Before now, I even had Kasha sift through the memories of the Sons of Tomorrow and the Iron Warriors to test them. Father, Kratos said, if it helps, every man of my Golden Legion and all the gene seed scions of my two uncles will submit to Mother's probe. No need, Axis replied. He looked at Kratos and smiled. I trust you three. How could I not trust my own son? Besides, the future intelligence I have seen indicates your loyalty. Future intelligence? Sanguinius asked, his expression sharpening. You saw something in the warp? Axis nodded. I saw fragments. I saw images suggesting Perturabo might betray the Emperor, but in the present he stands loyal. I have also a prisoner from that possible future. Guilliman and Sanguinius exchanged stunned looks. A prisoner from the future? They said together. It's true, Axis said. A few months ago, Lorgar planned an attack while I was away, and Kratos' main force was absent. The Emperor learned of it, and I returned to Nuceria through an Eldar webway to thwart him. In the course of that action, I captured a Chaos Space Marine from the far future, a being known as Chaos, the Chaos God's chosen, from a dark future 10,000 years hence. They were silent for a long moment. Kratos' face went pale. Father, this Chaos, you mean could it be Chaos, the first captain of the Golden Legion? Axis shook his head. Not that Chaos. The one I captured is not the same as the Chaos, you know. Their experiences diverged long ago. The future Chaos has Angron's gene seed in him. Our Chaos is my gene seed scion and has always been loyal. In our timeline, he even helped capture Lorgar. Axis recounted the fight that had led to Lorgar's capture and the prisoner's seizure. Yes, Lorgar is my captive. I intend to escort him to Terra for the Emperor's judgment. Sanguinius let out a breath of relief. Good. That traitor deserves what's coming. Kratos' hands clenched. The idea that a version of Chaos, someone he had known in his life, might become a Chaos chosen in any timeline sickened him. But Axis' reassurance that his Chaos remained loyal soothed him only a little. If I knew where Horus was, I wouldn't need you, Axis said. I could go alone and end his rebellion. The problem is he hides behind the warp, slipping through storms and shadow. He won't show himself unless he chooses to. Once the Pharos system is linked to Holy Terra's Astronomicon, Guilliman offered, we may be able to trace him. Precisely why, Axis said, and I ask that you escort the special prisoner to Terra. You and Sanguinius will take him? Guilliman repeated. What about you, Axis? And Kratos? And Kasha? Axis smiled again. I have other work. I must plant the spirit trees. 4 more worlds need attention. I won't return to Terra for at least 2 to 3 months. Sanguinius's expression changed. The spirit trees, Axis, does that mean Magnus's plan has the Emperor's approval? Kratos and Guilliman watched, curious. Axis nodded. Yes, the Emperor has approved Magnus's plan. You, Sanguinius, you are one of the candidates. The others are Lionel Johnson and Leman Russ. Sanguinius swallowed. I didn't expect Father to agree, he admitted. If it were only Horus, Axis, I believe I could defeat him. It's not that simple, Axis said. The Emperor bears immense burdens. Horus stands bolstered by the 4 Chaos gods. His power now exceeds most imaginations. Only the Emperor and I can stably oppose him. He spoke without melodrama. Horus was the vessel of 4 dark powers, and though the Emperor and Magnus wielded terrible force, the threat was vast, and there were darker things still, the Dark King pulling strings beyond the warp. I understand, Sanguinius said. Guilliman and I will take the prisoner to Holy Terra. Axis looked to Kratos. And Kratos, news from the Emperor. From today you will enjoy Primarch-level treatment. You will have your own legion, split from my Golden Legion. 150,000 of my men will form the core of your new command. Kratos' eyes widened. His grandfather had hinted at this before, that his father's gene seed scions would serve him. He had already been treated like Primarch adjacent, now the Emperor himself had confirmed it. I accept, father, Kratos said. Think of a name for it, Axis told him. Kratos' face lit with fierce pride. My legion will be called the Son of Axis. 260. Mother Planet Vegeta, Chagatai Khan arrives. Ever since his grandfather, the Emperor, first told him of the task, Kratos had known what to call his legion. It would be the Son of Axis. The Emperor loved him deeply. Though Kratos was not a gene seed Primarch and lacked gene seed, the Emperor had given him almost the same standing and treatment as any Primarch. Son of Axis, then. That will do, Axis said, stroking his chin and nodding approval at his son. Naming conventions in the Great Crusade were odd. Emperor's children, sons of Horus, and now another son of Axis. This new force would be a sub-legion under the Golden Legion. Father, I will select a homeworld for my legion. I won't fail you. I will carry forward the spirit of the Golden Legion, Kratos said with firm resolve. I believe you will. In the 100 years I've been away, you have proven yourself. Under your command, the Golden Legion is no weaker than any legion led by a gene seed Primarch. As for a homeworld, I think you can keep Nuceria. Consider it a gift from your old man. I'll go find another world, Axis offered. Axis still hankered for Catacon as a homeworld, but the planet had eluded him. Even late in the Great Crusade, Nuceria's files contained no trace of Catachan. He planned to search for it himself after the heresy. Father, that's impossible. Everything of the Golden Legion is on Nuceria. It's the Legion's heart. Hundreds of Imperial worlds orbit it. I've already received 150,000 Legion warriors. It's the material foundation for my Legion. I can't take Nuceria back. I've chosen a homeworld, Kratos answered decisively. He had already been granted 150,000 troops by his father, the seed for his own Legion. As for a homeworld, he would pick it himself. Kratos is right. A Legion's homeworld is its symbol. Nuceria is the Golden Legion's home. You can't simply give it away, Guilliman said to Axis. Nuceria had been the Golden Legion's anchor for over a century, a spiritual and emotional center as important to them as Macragge was to the Ultramarines. Sanguinius, standing nearby, nodded in agreement. Very well. Choose your own world. Have you found a suitable one? Axis asked. I have. I discovered it during the Great Crusade and have used the system as a supply base. It has a population of 8 billion, a forging world, an agricultural world, and several mining worlds nearby. The whole star system can serve as my Legion's base, Kratos said. The Emperor had already sent logisticians to help develop it. The agricultural and mining worlds had been built up over decades. And what's the name? Axis asked. I haven't formally named it yet, Father. I thought you should be the one to name it, Kratos replied. Today was important. He had received his true name from his father, and with it his Legion. He wanted his father to bestow the name of their homeworld as well. Axis thought a moment, then smiled. Let's call it Vegeta. It was my birthplace. The name of Axis's own birth world would become his son's Legion home, fitting and resonant. Vegeta it is, Father. My homeworld will be called Vegeta. From that day, the Son of Axis Legion was formally established, with Vegeta as its homeworld. The nearby agricultural and forging worlds would be Vegeta 2 and Vegeta 3. As father and son finalized the Legion's name and home, Kasha, seated and probing the warp, opened her eyes. Axis, I've found Chagatai Khan and his fleet, she said. Her eyes glowed golden. She had located the white scars. How far are they from Macragge? Can you guide them in? Axis asked. No problem. I'll guide them now. They must have picked up the Pharos lighthouse. Otherwise, the fleet could have been lost in the warp for months, Kasha answered. On Chagatai Khan's flagship, the Gloriana, Her voice suddenly rang out through the vessel, making the accompanying navigator go pale. At first, he feared some terrible chaos influence. The golden light that followed reassured him. This was the Emperor's power. Chogoris, do not resist. I am Kasha. I will guide your fleet to Macragge, her voice declared. Is that you, Sister Kasha? Chagatai replied. I understand. We will follow your guidance. He did not know how long they'd been adrift in the warp. The mission felt awkward. He had expected to arrive before Axis and Kasha, but it seemed they had already reached the Macragge system. With Kasha's psychic navigation, a golden channel opened and his fleet rode it. In 3 days, they emerged at the target star system. During those 3 days, the Ultramarines quietly began erasing all traces of the Second Empire. They sealed away data, proclaimed to ordinary citizens that it had all been a special military exercise, and placed strict information lockdowns across the Ultramar 500 worlds. Planetary governors enforced the censorship. In decades to come, the episode would fade from memory, and the Second Empire would be sealed out of history. At the same time, the Pharos system was being dismantled. Axis, Kasha, and Kratos spent the time together as a family, bridging the century that had passed. It was a warm reunion. Kratos told them of his life, how in his childhood he had believed Mizyudin was his mother until the truth was revealed on Holy Terra. Axis and Kasha expressed deep gratitude to Mizyudin. Axis presented her with a phase-shifting teleportation bracelet and 10 spirit tree fruits as thanks. By the time the White Scar's fleet reached Macragge, the traces of the Second Empire were largely erased. Chagatai Khan landed on Macragge with several of his gene seed scions to meet Guilliman, Sanguinius, Axis, and the others. I never thought you'd reach Macragge before me, even though I left earlier, Chagatai said to Axis, a note of helplessness in his voice. If he had not seen that Pharos-like light, he might have been lost in the warp still. Warp travel is unpredictable. You could have arrived before me, for all we know. The important thing is that we're all here safe, Axis replied. Warp travel was treacherous. He believed the widespread adoption of hyperspace engines, capable of speeds 40 times light, would make nearest-term travel safer. He had doubts about the Webway project ever succeeding. Let's not dawdle. I've been ordered by Father to bring the Pharos system back into the Imperium, and I intend to carry out his command, Chagatai said. Of course, Sanguinius and Guilliman will accompany you to Holy Terra, Axis replied. You'll also escort 2 particularly important prisoners. Who? Chagatai asked. One is Lorgar, whom I captured. The other is a Chaos Space Marine from 10,000 years in the future. The whole story is rather long, Axis said, and then recounted the war that had been fought on his homeworld. Lorgar, and a Chaos Space Marine from 10,000 years in the future? Unbelievable. Could I see this future Space Marine? Chagatai asked. Yes. It's a valuable opportunity for Guilliman and Sanguinius as well. They should meet him, Axis said. The past few days had kept them busy erasing the Second Empire. None of them had yet had time to visit the captives. Now at last, they could.